why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about the permanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, to where you can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, welcome to this episode 46 of the DGen Roundtable, where we're going to be talking about lots of extra things. Apparently, some random celebrity or influencer had like a really close haircut or something, had a little bit of his ear snipped off or something like that. So we'll be touching up on that here shortly. But before we give too much clout for the randos on the internet that are going to steal up our airtime, I want to go ahead and introduce to you guys my fantastic panel that we're going to be talking about all sorts of cool things with tonight. You got Mr. Zenith, our co-host. We got Mr. Agent J, our great value technical analyst. And we also have Mr. Nate McGettit, one proud American, as well as our fantastic producer behind the scenes, Mr. McGettit. I want to thank you all for joining me here today. Would you do me a favor real quick and give yourselves an introduction for the folks at home who might not know who you are, who have never seen you before? Who are you? What do you do? And what's new and exciting with you, my friend? Starting off with my co-host, Mr. Zenith. What's up, bro?
Good to see you, brother. Happy to be here hanging out with the boys this week. It has been a crazy week, so to speak. Originally, we were actually planning on doing the Q3 thesis show, and then on Thursday or Friday, I was talking with Jay, and we just had so much stuff to cover that we pushed that back another week. And then everything else happened. But yeah, other than that, hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Zenith. You can catch me on Zenith DI on Twitter or the Instagrams. Around here, I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, but I also like to specialize in governmental analysis and legal court proceedings as well. And a lot of times how those two blend over, unfortunately, because the way to get things done in the government is to sue the government. Outside of that, I also do other stuff like running the book club. We had a fantastic episode on Friday with a very, very special guest. His name is Christian Hines. He's the co-host of the Making the Argument podcast over on the Nick Freitas YouTube channel. We covered his favorite book, which he turned us on to, which is The Law by Frederick Bastiat. I know not many people are looking to spend their Friday evening covering 1850s French philosophy talking about socialism, but that is what we did around these parts. I don't want to toot my own horn a little bit, but I think that might be my magnum opus when it comes to the book club stuff up to this point. So other than that, massive shout out to Christian for coming on. Really appreciate you, brother. With that being said, passing it over to Jay. What's going on, brother?
Oh, you know, man, same shit, different day. It was an exciting week for crypto, and then the cherry on the top was obviously what happened with our favorite orange man over the weekend. So it's been a crazy news week for crypto, and then now a crazy weekend. This was definitely the push that I think the market needed in order to give the ball back over to the bulls, because crypto certainly priced in the Trump. I think what inevitably will be a Trump victory in November, because I mean, you threw everything in the kitchen sink at the guy and you still couldn't take him out. If you guys want to take a look at it later, we could take a look at the 1 hour charts, because as soon as that man got up off the stage and put his fist up in the air, like the price started bumping. And then obviously a little bit earlier today, Bitcoin reclaimed the $60,000 area, which was a significant point of resistance. So the markets are definitely pricing in Donald Trump victory. And I think that's part of the conversation that we're going to have today. What would a Trump win, a Trump presidency entail for crypto? And also what would happen if he lost? So most definitely an exciting week for crypto. And hey, by the way, kudos to your Friday episode. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the conversation that you and Chris had. One of my favorite quotes that you guys had during that entire evening was this one really hit home. It was something along the lines of, the people who want to be left alone will inevitably lose to the people who want to win, right? And I think that's a lesson that people need to heavily consider, because I know that the classic liberalism view of most folk is live and let live, right? Just leave me the hell alone. You can do what the hell you want with your life. But unfortunately, there are people out there who want you to live the way that they want, that they want you to live the way that they want you to live, right? And they'll do anything in their power in order to get to that point. So definitely something to consider. But I don't want to take up too much time here before we get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation. Nate, good to see you, brother. How you been doing?
Hey, Jay. Thank you for the intro. Yeah, basically what you're talking about right there is something I think is absolutely vitally important, is like people want freedom and we need to fight for that freedom. And the way America used to be is that we definitely were fighting every single time we could to keep our freedom.
Yeah.
But lately things have been slowing down where it's like maybe we're just a little bit complacent, and we're gonna, you do what you do over there and I'm just gonna do what I do over here, and that I think that's important, to maintain peace.
Yeah.
When
Nate,
there's
that
an
group
outward
of
attack
people,
on us, that's different.
that group of people, I think they also fail to realize that you have to fight for the right to be left alone.
Yes.
Right. Like you can't be complacent about it. So that's a good point.
Exactly. But yeah, no, there was a lot of stuff that happened today. I mean, obviously, as you can see on the thumbnail, that Donald J. Trump was shot at, and he was hit, grazed on the air. And it's scary to think about just how close that was. There's a lot of calculations online right now about just how close it was. And I'll tell you what, I've been on Twitter basically all day, just kind of watching how this story has been unfolding. And it's an interesting one for sure. So we'll get into that as soon as we do like chat shout outs and stuff. But therefore, I'm going to go ahead and throw it back over to our host, Will.
Excellent. Thank you, sirs. And thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on this fine day. Absolutely. And most certainly, for those of you at home who didn't know who this random influencer is that is getting this clout from our fantastic live viewing audience, we're giving a big shout out tonight to former President Donald J. Trump. So he's going to be the first person that we shout out tonight. And the rest of you guys in the chats are coming right up next. So, Mrs. Producer, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and pulling on up our first part of the night chat shout outs. We've got Mr. Ken Turian 54X saying, "What's up, DGens? Anything exciting happened this weekend?" Not really. No, it's been a pretty boring weekend. Some people got shot at, some prices went up, some prices went down. Folks went around and met up with people, shook hands, kissed babies, all that good stuff. So tons of exciting things happening, broski, and we're here to talk about all of it. Glad to see you, bro. Up next, we got Tam Tam. What's up, fam? What is up to you, Tam Tam? Glad to see our #1 cryptocurrency and pulse chain and DGen Roundtable cheerleader in the space. Glad to have you. Excited to be here. All that good stuff. Next up, we got Maddie Allen, Hex Therapy Live. What's up, y'all? What's up, Maddie Allen? Glad to see you here too, broski. We see, I was watching one of your streams earlier. I can't remember which one it was, but broski, fucking welcome to the DGen Roundtable. Good to have you. And then up next,
for Maddie, thanks again for putting together that amicus brief for the case against Richard with the hot dog shenanigans. So good on you, brother. So
Jay, I think you mean grumpy wieners.
Yes,
the
grumpy wieners. You know why that dude named his hot dog stand Grumpy Wieners? Because he probably not getting any pussy. That's why his wiener is grumpy. So
that could very well be the case.
Had to take it out on RH. What a loser.
All right. Up next, we've got Mr. Brissology saying, "Hey, dudes. Hey, Brissology. What's going on, bro?" I remember one time, long time ago, Brissology, and this is a more fun note for the folks at home. I remember you saying that you stream or that you play Sea of Thieves. So, bro, I would love to partner up with you at some time and rock the digital 7 seas and go around pirating and doing stuff. That's one of my favorite games, bro. Anyways, enough about me and Brissology and about the audience. Let's go ahead and hop on into our first stuff that we're going to talk about. So we might as well give this dude a shout out. I hear that there's an orange man and he received a little bit of a close shave not too long ago. And I've got my thoughts on it, but I'm going to go ahead and toss over to Nate, who's been doing all the scrolling and all the everything and checking out Twitter today. Nate, could you go ahead and, for the folks at home who are living under a rock and don't know what happened, can you give a brief synopsis about what happened and then go ahead and pull up some screen share and let's hop on into this conversation.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I already did sort of give a little bit of a synopsis. Basically, there was an assassination attempt on the former president. Donald Trump. And so, yeah, it's been flying all over Twitter exactly what has happened, what's going on with this, who are the victims, because unfortunately some people, the missed bullets when you're shooting
they went
at someone
somewhere.
with a crowd directly
went
behind
somewhere.
you. Yeah,
They
it's gonna
missed
hit
Trump. They
someone.
didn't miss the people in the back.
And unfortunately, it seems like 2 people are in critical condition, because there was 5 shots. He was able to take 5 shots. I'm pretty sure some of those kind of went as he was going down, and then some of those were also then there was more shots that were fired from the Secret Service, especially the snipers. Which actually, there's a thing about that. Most people are like, "Oh, how come the snipers didn't see him right away?" There's actually a good reason why. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and bring up my screen here, first things first, of course, Orange Man good, right? you got to admit, this right here, just bam.
Yep.
Oh my god, instantly just bam, there it goes. Oh
Hey,
man.
look at that.
I know I was on the 1 minute chart, I'm not gonna lie, and I was taking a look at this because this was actually wild, and this was all while the news was breaking that Trump was getting fired at and all that. So yeah, crypto is wild, man. I'm not even gonna lie. But yeah, Patrick Bet David, he himself had a post over here.
Yeah, he
and
went live yesterday.
yeah,
Are you able to scroll in a little bit, Nate? Like press control and then wiggle the scroll wheel so that way we go in some?
that is
Would that be possible? I don't know if
that
it's
is
just me. I
not-
can't see the letters and numbers and
Yeah,
things
you
very
could
well.
zoom in, Nate. If you hold the control button down and then use your scroll, there you go.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
There you go.
There we
All right,
are.
sweet.
All right,
Thanks,
cool,
sir.
cool. Yes, sir. All right, so is this good for you guys?
Yeah. So what's
Okay,
the
sweet.
meat and potatoes of PBD's thing?
Yeah. So long story short, basically, he was very concerned that there seems to be a lack of security around what ended up happening. And he suggests, especially for what starts tomorrow, by the way, the RNC, the convention, the Republican National Convention, in Milwaukee. And what's actually very interesting about, well, first off, this tweet here, he's talking about what they should be doing, right? Going over, having multiple bomb squads going through and kind of like challenging each other, seeing who can find what, right? If they can find anything, security teams with upgrading to, like, say, drones and things like that. That's kind of what he was talking about. And you know what? I do got to admit, there were some things that were missed currently in the investigation, but it wasn't necessarily the Secret Service that that screwed up here.
I know something that was missed.
Oh.
That there was a dude with a gun who shot at the president 5 times. The Secret Service might have missed that one.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my God.
the interesting thing about that, apparently it was 2 guys. So 2 guys, one of them pointed his rifle at a police officer to get up on top of this building. The other guy just ended up leaving, but yeah, the guy went on to the top of the building. And the thing is, like, you had snipers that were able to, like, possibly see this guy on the roof. And in fact, there were some people who lived near that area who just went over to the field and actually was like about 50 feet from that building that the attempter was sitting on. And yeah, they actually saw him. They were pointing. They told the police about it and everything. And even though he pointed a gun at the police officer, the police officer just kind of ran. And so the police were confused as to what was going on. Meanwhile, the snipers themselves, he was actually the snipers for Secret Security or the Secret Service is supposed to be looking further than he actually was. According to where he was located, it was an easy shot for anyone with a sniper rifle. It was an easy shot because it was almost point blank range. That's literally the words that a sniper, someone who actually does do sniping for the military, actually put it. He was that close. And so these snipers didn't see him because they were looking further out for actual like skilled snipers, right? This dude missed by milliinches, just millimeters, right? But like just millinches, inches, and all that, right?
Very small margin.
Exactly. But it was crazy because when his first shot should have hit, but right when he shot, or just like as he was pulling the trigger, Trump was kind of forgetting what it was he was talking about, which was like an borders type of thing, and he had a chart put on a screen, and so he happened to kind of move his head like that, right? He just moved his head to go look at the chart, and that movement, and if you could see it from like this side, that movement was exactly enough to end up missing the back of his head right here, or back of his head, and actually grazed the ear. And yeah, that's what ended up happening there. And tried to take a couple more shots, and then it was all over by that point. And the secret service sniper actually had to readjust everything because it was such a close shot. And that's the reason why he was able to get so many shots off, was because of that. But once you get that one miss, you just sort of start panic shooting. That's why there were so many shots and nothing else hit. But unfortunately, it seems like somebody did die. And I guess he was a firefighter who, as soon as the first shot went off, he pushed his wife and his daughter to the ground, and then stood in front of his other daughter, and ended up taking the bullet. So, hats off to him. He protected his family. And yeah, I mean, that's what ended up happening. But how does this all, so it's an interesting story, but how does this all relate to crypto? Well, Sami here, I think he's got a pretty good one here. Basically, he's talking about how this would have sparked an American Civil War, right? And I kind of agree with him. And and immediately he would have said the S&P 500 would have had a massive drop at negative 40%, which at that point, all markets are going to go down, because crypto is related to the S&P. It is related to the stock market, right? And so if the stock market goes down, so is crypto. And that would have been the end of our bull run. That would have truly sucked. But as far as speculation goes, if it instantly drops like that, I almost kind of see this as kind of like the zombie virus, where it dipped really hard, but then quickly shot back up. What's your guys' opinion on that?
On the market or the tweet?
Both. Well, yeah, if you have something on the tweet, of course, but if he actually did get killed there, and then the S&P dropped like a good 40%, like negative 40%, right? What do you think the crypto markets would have done? I personally think they would have dropped, but then shot back up right away.
Good chance. I mean, that's typically how the markets react with this kind of thing. It's either that, or the alternative view I could see is that people lose faith in the American dollar and then turn to something like crypto or some other hard asset to store value in. So it could be the inverse effect, where you see one go down and the other go up. So it's that. But I mean, I'm going to disagree with Sami on this one. Even if Trump was killed the other night, I don't think civil war, as the average American thinks about civil war, would have broken out. We're at a point now where large scale force on force action between different states is just not realistically in the picture. So
yeah, I agree. They would have mobilized local law enforcement for one. Probably would have mobilized the National Guard. Our response time to those kinds of things are a lot faster nowadays, especially compared to World War II or World War I or any other of the wars that we've had in the past. So I certainly, I'm in agreement with Zenith here. I don't think it would have ended in the way that Sami would have thought it would have ended. I think even though the markets would have certainly reacted negatively to his passing if it happened, people are gonna okay, that kind of sucks, right? But here's the thing: when it comes to Trump is making the rounds in the crypto verse because he's planted his flag firmly in the ground as the pro crypto president, right? But what people would need to realize is that crypto as an entity, as a space, we were already making very large steps and strides forward without Donald Trump, right? All of that was happening already. Regulation here is starting to be created, right? With SAB 21 being overturned, but unfortunately the veto still stays. The FIT 21 bill is being worked on at the moment. We have major institutions investing in crypto. We have some of the bigger names here in the industry, Coinbase, for example, Uniswap, winning their legal battles against the SEC, and Gary Gensler is on the way out. And so the entire industry as a whole, we were already moving forward, and that would have happened with or without Donald Trump. Okay, now it's certainly very positive for us that he's on the team, but I think there are enough buyers in the market, right, that are hungry for Bitcoin at $50,000, that even if we experience the same kind of dip that we had during Android 19, that price would have been bought up immediately, right? I don't think these large institutions, and we can, well, actually, let me go ahead and share my screen here real quick. Where is it? Here we go. So here is a graphic of the total inflows for the Bitcoin ETFs over the last week for July. Let me know when you guys can see that. All right. So I want to bring your attention to this chart right down here. Okay. So this was the majority of June. You see how the red bar is showing net outflows from the ETFs, right? Here is starting from the 25th of June, and now all of the positive inflows over the last week or so in July, right? So there was a significant amount of outflows over the last few weeks of June, but look at what the individual ETFs have been doing over the past few weeks while Germany was dumping, right? So I guarantee you right now that if Bitcoin experienced another significant dip, let's assume that Donald Trump was successfully assassinated yesterday, these ETFs would not have allowed Bitcoin to drop below $40,000 like people are calling. I just don't see it happening, right? And precisely because of the reasons I mentioned earlier, crypto was already moving forward with or without Donald Trump. It's fantastic that he's on the team, right? Like that's really all it is.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. That's why I do think it would have probably dipped really bad. People would have bought it back up quickly. And not only that, but I think probably Orange Man Good probably would have shot up even more, to be truthful.
I'm going to take a moment. Oh, go ahead, Nate. Please finish.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's just the way the crypto markets are. You know, it's absolutely wild. Will, what would you have?
I was going to say I want to take a moment and mention that if you zoom out, all of this becomes pretty irrelevant in 5 years. You know, or it becomes pretty irrelevant in 6 years. And so, like, this is something worth considering too. You can sell the news in the short term and perhaps make a quick buck, or you can buy things when it dips and perhaps make a tiny correction. But Brissology asked the question earlier, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind pulling up. What happens if Biden wins again in November? And my response to it was that life continues. This is something like whether Trump gets killed, whether Trump lives or dies, like there's going to be these like little spikes and dips that will happen on the charts. But just like if you think that it's a good asset over time, then it will perform with or without Trump. It will perform with or without Biden. It will perform with or without the DGen Roundtable. Like if you zoom out far enough, you can't even see the Earth, right? So like depending on what your time scale is and what your time horizon is something for folks to also consider. So like if you're in this for a quick buck, then pay close attention to what's going on. If you're in this for the long haul, then it's like this might present a buying opportunity, but it likely isn't going to be a selling opportunity. And again, this is just if you're like there's time horizons for people to keep in mind here. So like we are reacting a lot based on the short-term time effect, which is the correct thing to do. But also recognize that like most of us are going to survive through this election and the next election and the next election.
Yeah.
So
Will, can you bring up or actually I should say Mrs. Producer, can we bring up Josh TH, his comment there, because this relates to what Will is speaking about right now. So Josh says that crypto will be okay, whoever wins this one, but looks like Trump has it in the bag at this point. So to the first part of his comment, right? Yes, I agree with you. I agree with Will. Crypto will be okay regardless of who wins. Now, does that mean that a Biden win in November is not going to present some headwinds to crypto? Obviously, right? Because as it stands, Biden is still fairly anti-crypto because he's taking his advice from Jamie Dimon and from Elizabeth Warren. However, the beautiful thing about crypto is if you haven't already gotten the memo, crypto is insulated from any one individual, any one entity, any one government, any one country from having centralized control over it.
Absolute
right?
decentralization.
Especially Bitcoin, right? That is the spirit of crypto. Even if they tried, they wouldn't be able to You wouldn't be able to accumulate the computing power. You wouldn't be able to amass the finances in order to take over the network. It's just not going to happen, right? This is one of the few things that I think I can have strong 100% conviction in, that no matter who it is in the world, it doesn't matter if you think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. If it doesn't matter if you're Donald Trump, doesn't matter if you're Joe Biden, doesn't matter if you're Vladimir Putin, it doesn't matter if you're Kim Jong-un of North Korea. It doesn't matter if you're the emperor of the CCP. Okay, it doesn't matter how powerful you are. You're not going to be able to kill crypto, kill Bitcoin. It's just not going to happen, right? So yes, we will certainly be okay. Now, as it relates to the latter half of his comment, says Trump has it in the bag at this point. I would also have to agree. I think, you know how there's a lot of people speculating over the internet that this was all staged, whether it is or it isn't, right? I don't know. It may or may not be. Some people are going to speculate that all of this was just, a dog and pony show, and it was just all for show. Look, I think we can all make the argument that something like this, if it was staged, right, it's something that he did not need to do because he pretty much had it in the bag already, right? He didn't need to go through the song and dance in order to secure the win in November, right? And so, but if he did, right, if this was staged, quote unquote, then it's checkmate, right? Because now you basically galvanize the entire nation, people that were probably on the fence about him, to voting for this man, to jumping on his camp, right?
Here's the thing to think. Oh,
go ahead.
Here's the thing to think about with that too. If you're calling it fake, right?
Some people are calling it fake. I'm not calling it fake. Some people are, though.
If it was staged, right? You then have to think that even though he's already got kind of an easy campaign right now against someone who's not mentally there at all, he would still need to put himself in the line of a bullet, right? So that means he's literally risking his life for this staged moment. Now, I don't think that's fake, right? Then again, maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Some people are calling that was like a ketchup.
Yeah.
He had like a McDonald's ketchup pack in his pocket.
I'll say it doesn't matter if it was fake or if it was staged, because now there's a story. So like for the folks at home who haven't heard me say this before, I think of everything in the world, everything, as campfire stories. Everything's a fucking campfire story unless I physically see it with my eyes, and then it's like a really convincing campfire story, right? I don't trust a fucking thing. And even if it really doesn't make a difference whether you trust it or not. If enough people believe the same stuff, it's like what Sami says all the time. We get network effect. We get Metcalfe's law, right? The more people that believe in a network or that put their attention into a network, the more powerful that network becomes. So the more people that believe the story, whether it's a true story or a fake story, it's all fucking campfire stories as far as I'm concerned, right? And the only thing that we need to think about is, what are people going to do with this information? Are they going to buy? Are they going to sell? Are they going to panic? Are they going to capitulate? Are they going to start a riot? Are they going to fucking build a bridge, right? Like we don't know what people are going to do with all the story. Oftentimes people, like, what it really amounts to, as far as we're concerned in this money making crypto space, is, are they going to buy the coins? Are they going to sell the coins? As we saw with Orange Man Good, shout out to the Tangang guys over there. I'm not endorsing your coin, but I will say that, like, upon the news of Donald J. Trump, getting a quick little haircut, or like his ear trim over there, like, a coin went up in value. So it's like people will put a story, or they will put like a thing happening, and they'll be like, oh, that, like, price speculation. Is the thing going to go up? Is the thing going to go down? When Joe Biden had his speaking moment where he just went silent for 10 seconds during the debate, the Joe Biden coin over on Solana fucking plummeted. So it's like, there's all these things that happen in real life that people are like, oh, that's a story this is a story that. And if those people all, like, if they notice the story and they have money and they make decisions based off of that, then it's like, oh, this is interesting. So this is all just a big giant game of marketing and advertisement and sales and buys and sells and things. So, like,
yeah, it's all about the attention, right?
Yeah.
If you bring up my screen again here, we have our favorite guy in the whole world talking about how the attention is incorrect, right? And there are some news channels out there that are saying, oh, he just fell. okay, I don't know what they're doing with all this. And there's probably some fake news out there where a lot of these headlines they
It's
refuse
just
to say
storytelling, bro.
attempted, right?
It's
It
all
is
storytelling.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is true what Richard Hart is saying here, that you are an absolute piece of shit if you are a news company, right? And you're not actually telling the news, but you're instead trying to form a narrative, right? That is manipulation in its entirety, and that's propaganda, and that is incorrect. And that is why people like Richard Hart are fighting for your rights of freedom of speech,
Freedom of speech, baby. I like
Yeah.
it. Nate, do
Yeah,
you have
bro.
any other? Go ahead with your thought, Jay, and then I'm going to toss it back to Nate for all the other tweets that you want to cover for this, and then we'll go ahead and mosey on into a quick round of chat shoutouts.
Yeah, just in relation to Richard's post here, if you guys saw the headlines from CNN, from Washington Post, from the New York Times, it was Trump fell, or rally interrupted because of loud noise, or the Secret Service rushed to the stage and interrupted his speech. Those were the headlines from most of these legacy news media outlets when shit hit the fan. So
Yeah.
God bless Elon Musk for buying X out, because what's crazy? It's funny to me that out of all the platforms that Elon Musk could have chosen in order to buy, right, it was actually X, and it just happened to be the crypto bros social media platform of choice. So I'm
Yes.
pretty happy that he bought X and not like Facebook or Instagram or some shit like that.
Well, I mean, there's a technical reason for that, if you want to get nerdy with it, which is that
Go for it.
Twitter is based on SMS, or short message system, which is the idea that the reason tweets are so short and primarily contain just like letters, is that it's easy to transmit data. So the reason that he was interested in it was because it's possible use for like interstellar communications, which is that sending tweets is actually the best data packet to send information quickly.
No kidding.
That's fair.
I think I remember hearing that.
I thought it was because he wanted to farm as much engagement as possible. There's a theory out there that the reason why Twitter is such a cesspool is because there is such a hard cap on the amount of characters that you can fit on screen. It attracts the most like vitriolic, nonsensical, outrageous people online, because because the medium basically encourages them to type out short, angry messages at each other. So I thought he was just engagement farming, but
you had it
what
correct.
you said makes a lot more sense.
You had it correct with the word cesspool. That is an accurate description of my personal opinion. I know I always make the joke that like I haven't fully figured out how to like operate Twitter and see all these like magical things and conversations that other people are seeing, but there are a few occasions when I actually do really see when Twitter becomes the bathroom wall of the internet. Some that was talking about like social security. I saw that on trending, clicked on it. My God, that was like the biggest pile of terrible takes I've ever seen. And then again, when this happened, there were multiple trending things. One of them was
Fake news.
Well, that was one of them. One was like fight. Another one was like staged or something. And then I clicked on that one, and it was pretty vile. I'm not gonna lie. It was a lot of people just like wishing for death upon this man. It's like,
man, that pissed me off too. There was a lot of people I heard saying that type of thing, like, "Oh my God, he missed. That's too bad." What?
I mean, are you?
Uncle Z's gonna pull out the soapbox real quick.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised, Nate, that there are people like that?
Take it,
Yeah, no, not really.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to give you the boilerplate statement first, which is that this is still a breaking news story. We don't have all the facts. The facts are not all confirmed. Trying to make any take right now, we can only operate with what we got, and the correct answer is probably to wait until more facts come out and emotions have calmed down. But at the same time, we have gotten to the point in the United States here where the political climate has ultimately led to this. One of the things that I've heard some people say that this is shocking, not surprising, which is that it is shocking that someone actually was this close to actually carrying out what the intention was. But the other half of it is that it's not surprising, which is that for about 8 years now, the entire media apparatus has been calling this man literal Hitler. So it's like, are you surprised that political violence has been on the rise and then someone took it to this level? It's like, no, I'm not. But at the same time, the second part of this is that for everybody out there saying that they missed, or back when one of Donald Trump's relatives passed away, they said that God took the wrong Trump. We've gotten to the point where me personally, I'm like, I have sacrificed enough for this country and spent enough of my life actually trying to defend these values for people to openly wish this stuff upon what is effectively the greatest part of our republic, which is that we have peaceful transitions of power. If you were actively wishing for this man to be killed, I'm pretty much at the point where it's like, I'm about ready to give people one chance to take it back. But then after that, I got no time for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree with that.
Remove negativity from your life. Nate, take it away, bro. You've got other
Yes,
tweets
sir.
to bring us through.
Yes. So, with that being said, right, regardless of what happened yesterday and all that, regardless, he is still going to be speaking at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. And not only that too, but he's moved up his schedule by 2 days to actually go to the RNC. He's going to be there right away. And that's after all this happened. Dude,
That's a big favor to them because he was basically remember when he didn't even show up for the Republican primaries because he's like, I know who's gonna win. All of you guys are just like in the sandbox in the playground. Like I don't even have to debate you guys, and I know who's gonna be the Republican candidate. So he's actually doing the RNC a favor by showing up there. And kudos to him. Just like Jesus, beef up your fucking security for God's sakes, man. Like.
Yeah, that's exactly what Patrick Bet David was saying is like, hey, you need to start doing this type of stuff. And that's what he like labels it all out in the tweet. So go check it out.
Yeah.
But
this is a lesson that you only need to learn once. Please.
Here's the crazy thing. The last time a president was shot at was Reagan back in 1981.
Hold up. All right.
You got the clip? You got the clip, Will?
Oh, I do not actually have the clip on me. Oh,
somebody had a picture of America when Reagan got shot, all the colors of the states.
Oh man.
During that, dude, it was a fucking
landslide.
Is that
the 48 state sweep?
Yeah.
Yeah, that election was kind of wild for that one.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so
that's what we call the red wave.
Red wave. Shout out to Donald though, because he's got balls of steel. Not only did he get up after all that and start saying, hey, I'm still here, fight, and everybody was sitting there chanting USA, USA. But then he moves up his schedule to go to the RNC by 2 days and immediately goes and gets on a plane, and he's still sitting here like, oh no, hell no, I'm still going to that Bitcoin thing. I mean, if you want to talk about a really good way for him to get assassinated, it's not necessarily being at a rally where you've got all the Secret Service making sure that everything within a 1,000-yard radius is locked down. No, it's going to be at a conference where people are almost unaware that Trump is even there, So I don't know, man. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. But I think we need the thing that needs to happen is he just needs to stay alive and he'll basically win the elections.
Yeah.
And that's the scary thought is like, oh, when you're at a point in an election where it's like, dude just needs to stay alive. When you're at that point, it's just a bad spot for America.
There's another half to that statement though, which is that it's not that he needs to stay alive. It's that he needs to not be killed.
Yeah.
When we're at this point, I think this is truly a dark day for the Republic.
Yeah. No, I mean, anytime something like this happens, it's a dark day for the Republic, right? But I think he'll be fine, man. Donald Trump is the type of guy. It's going to take everything that you've got to take him down, and they gave him everything that they've gotten, right? They tried to cancel him, they tried to impeach him, they convicted him, and now they attempted to kill him, and nothing has worked, man. So like really, good luck. The fact that you couldn't get it done the first time, you're not going to have a prayer at trying again. Like you won't, bro. It's like you had one shot. You had
come for
one
the king.
shot.
You better not miss.
That's it. You tried to take him out. You missed. You're not gonna get a second shot. Sorry to break it to you, but you're not. So good luck. See you guys in November. Take the L. Like reach across the aisle, shake the other guy's hand because you lost. Okay. I do have that Reagan clip if you guys want to see it.
Oh hell yeah, bring it up.
Clip. And other than that, let's not play the JFK one and get demonetized.
Oh, I love this one.
We can make our beloved country the source of all the dreams and the opportunities that she was. Miss me.
God damn. He didn't hesitate. Like he didn't flinch or nothing.
Yeah.
God, I love.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
that's awesome.
hilarious, bro.
What a fucking boss.
Mhm.
All right. Any last final thoughts on Mr. Trump getting an assassination attempt, and then I'm gonna do chat shoutouts.
Yes, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, I have a few quick screen shares I want to rapid fire across. So first up, I want to shout out Christian Hines, our guy that came on. This is the quote that Jay was talking about at the beginning of the show. You become a libertarian, you just want to be left alone. Then you become something else once you realize that they will never leave you alone. So shout out on that one. And then after
Wise
that,
words.
I mean, we'll try to bring it up to a little bit of a lighter note here. Stocks up right now. 50 Cent. 50 Cent is up right now. By the way, the song Many Men Wish Death Upon Me is trending right now. So there you go. I believe that was performed at a concert.
So 50 was at a concert yesterday, I believe. It was either yesterday, late evening, or today. And when he was singing that, when he was performing Many Men, he had Donald Trump, this picture on his board, like whatever screen that he was playing. So that was pretty dope. I love that 50 is a Trump guy.
Yeah, there's the other famous 50 Cent album cover with him in like the wife beater and the black body bulletproof vest and the chain. I've seen photoshops of that one as well. And then speaking of other former presidents who were attempted to be assassinated, Bulls Moose Memes, aka after Teddy Roosevelt. He was the last president that was actually like shot, survived, but shot, and that was in 1912. So this account has been having an absolute heyday.
Oh my God.
This one says, I'll watch the sky. I'll take care of the hood. There you go.
Hilarious.
I saw the bullet and I said, wow, what a terrible shot. Typical liberal. Doesn't know how to use a gun. People are saying it would be a beautiful MAGA patriot. I wouldn't be here today. Maybe I'll change MAGA to Make American Gun My Name.
Look, I mean, the guy who allegedly took the shot was a member of Antifa. I mean, can you could you expect anything more from a guy who probably doesn't know his way around a firearm? Of course he would have missed, man.
True.
Yeah, and I don't like that they are definitely going to bring up the freaking gun control again about this.
I mean, at this point, it's just like, get bent, nerds. Deal with it. Second Amendment is there.
For
fans of Star Wars prequel memes, we have this one. The attempt on my life has left me scarred and deformed. Biden after having to speak for 5 minutes, Trump after getting shot in the head.
That was one of my favorite ones, bro.
Here's reason why this whole thing happened right here.
Dude, my in-laws were over yesterday for dinner, and as soon as my mother-in-law walked through the door, she's like, it was Clinton.
Hey, look, the meme still stands. That's a pretty good one. If you talk about politics tonight at dinner, I'm going to chew your ear off. Me after one beer.
Yeah.
And so, the courier who cheated death in the cemetery outside Good Springs cheated death once again, and the Mojave wasteland was changed forever.
Oh my God.
Everyone liked that.
Yeah.
Dude, so I was catching up on oh, cool.
Here's my favorite and the last one. Sorry, I'll turn it back over to you boys.
No worries.
Mr. Trump, I can't believe you moved at the perfect moment. I thought for a moment I heard besides me the voice of an old friend.
Yeah.
That is Shinzo Abe, by the way.
Yep. Shout out to Shinzo.
All
right. Okie dokie. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and transition right on into chat shoutouts. All right. Mrs. Producer, if you would be so kind as to pull up our first chat from Farmer Brown. What's up? When no more poor. So, Farmer, you're going to be poor whenever the number goes up and you sell. Otherwise, you're going to be poor forever, bro. Just like the rest of us. Poor forever. What a pity. You're going to be having to go around and hanging out at 50 Cent concerts and trying to take all the money out of his pockets and things. Yeah. Next up, we got
Brown is rich in good company.
Yes, he is.
Absolutely.
And knowledge from the DGen Roundtable. Shout out to Farmer Brown. All right, next up, we got Moon Mutt. Good to see all you DGens on here tonight. It's good to see you too, good sir. I will hopefully be able to see you in real life in the very near future. I will keep you posted in our private chats, good sir. But yes, good to see you, Moon Mutt. Next up, Josh TH. We had read this one already, but we'll read it again. Crypto will be okay. Whoever wins this one, but looks like Trump has it in the bag at this point. You're fucking A right, Josh. It does look like Trump has it in the bag, but we will see. This is a touring country.
Poly market, like his chance of winning in poly market, bro, is up to 69%, man.
Nice. 69 420, baby.
It was hilarious.
Drop.
Next up, we got Frank. Was that? Oh, okay. Next up, we got Frank White, Bang Bang, MAGA Gang. I think MAGA stands for Make All Gunmen Aim Again or something, or Make Aim.
Make America Gunmen Aim.
Ben, you just had it a second ago. Make America Great Again, gang. So shout out to all of you guys out there who are Trump supporters, and bang bang to all of you. Next up, we got Moon-Pilled Rational Optics. What is up, D-Gens? What is up to you, good sir? Good to see you in the chats. Happy to have you. Ready to talk about some cool things. Next up, we got Benny Blanco from the Bronx. Look at these beautiful human beings. Cheers. I will go ahead and cheers to you, good sir. Actually, I've got this fantastic, super cool mug. Jay, you will fucking love this thing. This is a 15-pound solid stainless steel mug that holds 5 ounces of water. So this thing's a fucking workout to drink from. And cheers to you, Benny
Fucking
Blanco
Goku over here, bro.
Benny Blanco
5 ounces of liquid, huh?
Yep, it holds 5 ounces. I got the lightest one, the one that's fucking 14 or 15 pounds or whatever.
Yo,
They got a heavy one that's like 22 pounds.
bro, Benny jinxed him. A few days ago, Benny was posting in the chat. He was like, "There's no way they're gonna let Trump win, even though we think that he's gonna win in November. There's no way they're gonna let him Trump. They're gonna take him out." And I was like, "God dang it, Benny! They almost got him, bro. Why you gotta put that bad juju out there, bro?"
People have been saying this for a hot minute. Again, shocking, not surprising.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I see we got some more fun chats in here. Shout out to Moon-Pilled Rational Optics again, where he says Fallout meme for the win. That's the one that caught my eye earlier too. The one where it was like when you enter into the VATS targeting thing, and it was like 0 for like the Trump head. So I thought that was funny. Excuse my burping and things. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels. Enough of that stuff. We're going to go ahead and hop on into our articles for the day, which is basically the reason that we started this one off. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with my article, which isn't really an article. It's more of a tweet, or actually it is a tweet from our good friend, your friend Sami. Shout out to your friend Sami. One of the things that he posted earlier this week, and give me a moment while I pull up my screen share here. One of the things that Sami posted earlier this week was that, there we go. I think I have it, Mrs. Producer, whenever you're ready, if you would be so kind as to pull up my little screen share. So the first thing that we got going on is juicy news, and then he tells us the prices of Bitcoin and the price of Ethereum and all that good stuff. But the important thing of this tweet is that a CFTC chairman says Illinois court ruled that Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities. Now, we kind of sort of knew this stuff already, but it is now official, I suppose. So shout out to Sami for bringing us this fantastic news. This isn't anything that's super duper surprising from us on the crypto side, but as far as the legal side goes, this is some pretty nifty stuff. So shout out to him. Does anyone have any thoughts on this? Otherwise, I will transition right on over into our next article. Opening it up to you guys.
There's probably going to be a fight over this in the courts. I'm very sure that the SEC, in particular, one man over there, is going to be very unhappy about their step-sibling committee trying to rule out the things that they're also trying to rule fall under them. So, suck it, Gary.
Yep. I mean, all of these things are part of the reason why the market pumped, right? In addition to obviously the CPI coming in much lower than expected, right? So there was an expectation from the CME that it was going to come in at 3.1. We hit a flat 3% on the CPI, which pumped the markets a little bit, right? We were hovering around that $54,000 area, and the CPI, along with a very I believe we mentioned this. Zenith mentioned this during his F and Hangout stream on Friday, that the unemployment also ticked up a little bit as well. So that's a softening of the labor market that Jerome Powell is also going after. So it seems like we're going to have a pretty dovish Fed moving forward. So let's see what that next CPI print is going to look like. But it seems like we're set to get at least that one rate cut that everybody's been clamoring for. Sometime at the end of this year, 1 for sure, but maybe 2. Who knows, man? We'll see where the dice lands.
Yeah, the way the futures market is working out right now, the FedWatch tool by CME Group that we like to reference has the July 31st chances at 95% chance, no drop. Meeting after that, 18th of September, 88% drop, or 88% chance of a quarter point drop. So going from 5 1/4 down to 5 flat.
Yeah. You know what's also interesting? So I've been looking at this and listening to a few pundits talking about this. The M2 money supply flipped bullish sometime in March this year, right?
Dude, money supply, eh?
Yeah. I mean, so Z, you can jump in on this and give your thoughts, but so the reason why that caught my interest is that the M2 is a representation of like not necessarily the liquidity in the market, right? But in terms of how much people have in liquid assets, right? In this case, the fiat dollars, how much savings they have in the bank, and then even the ones that are not super liquid, but people can get to fairly easily, like money market funds, short-term certificates of deposits, those kinds of things, right? So if that thing flipped bullish, it means that there's a lot of money in people's pockets to spend or save, right? And a lot of people might be surprised by that information because technically, even though we're not in an environment of quantitative tightening anymore, Jerome Powell is saying we're going to have to go higher for longer. So I was like, okay, it's really interesting that the M2 money supply flipped bullish, because what does that mean? That means that the market is going to be positive because if people have more money to spend, they have more money to spend in goods and services, right? So if you have more money to spend on different companies, let's say, for example, Amazon or Walmart or Tesla, what is that going to do? Well, it's going to increase the valuations of those company stocks, right? Which is going to be price positive for the market. So I'm like, okay, if that's price positive for the market, could that be price positive for crypto as well? And the answer is obviously yes. I think that's one of the primary reasons why you see the Nasdaq and the traditional financial markets, they're well into their bull run, right? The S&P 500 making new highs. And so I was thinking to myself, like, do we have something like that in crypto? And I think we actually do. I think when you see companies like Tether and USD, in particular Tether, right? The fact that Tether has been minting billions of dollars worth of stable coins since 2022 is a very telling sign, right? Because that, like, the only reason that Tether can mint billions of dollars worth of stable coins is because people are putting money into DeFi, right? That means that they're able to put something as collateral in their reserves in order to mint against those reserves for their Tether, right? That they're minting. If I could share my chart here real quick. So here is the Tether total supply since 2022. Give me 1 second here. Let me pull up the screen. Here we go. Okay, and let me zoom in so you guys can see it. Okay. So look at where Tether started. So let's just take like the very tail, so at the very start of the last of the last cycle, right? So 2019, let's go 2019 here. 2019, Tether had a circulating market cap of 2 billion, right? Let's go to the end of that bull cycle, 2021. Let's go September 2021. September 2021, and the circulating market supply for Tether is now at $68 billion, right? That's what, like a 35x in market cap for Tether. And then now, so Tether hasn't slowed down. The circulating market supply for Tether right now is $112 billion, right? So Tether hasn't been printing money. So that's telling me, right? That's telling me as an analyst that even though we have a ton of FUD in the market, money is still funneling into DeFi, right? Because like I said, if Tether didn't have the collateral to back them printing more Tether, they wouldn't do it. I think that's one of the reasons why governments are so adamant about vetting their books, because they're like, how collateralized are you that you could print billions and billions of dollars worth of Tether like on a monthly basis? But I think that's the reason why. I think it's because people are putting money into DeFi, and that's the reason why Tether, they're like they're one of the largest holders of US treasuries, right? So they're accumulating yield that way, and that's probably one of the other reasons why they're able to have so much collateral to print their Tether. So look, that's a very long-winded way of saying that, yes, do we have some temporary headwinds in crypto? Absolutely. However, the M2 money supply flipping bullish in a time where we are not in a quantitative easing period is like very telling. And the fact that Tether has basically what is that? A 55x over the span of it's less than 4 years. Like, that's very, very telling of what's happening in the crypto space. Z, I'm going to throw it over to you and ask your thoughts on this, and Will and Nate as well.
Yeah, let me see. I pulled it up here. Love me the M2 money supply. So M2 is a measure of the money supply that includes cash, checking deposits, and other deposits readily convertible to cash, such as certificates of deposit. So that is what we're talking about here. When you do, Jay hit it on the head there, which is that when you see the M2 money supply actively increasing during a time where quantitative easing is not in effect, what that means is that the economy is actually growing in the truest sense, and it's good news on the macro level, just to understand that like things are getting healthier. I'm not going to call them fully healthy, but they're getting healthier. And then as far as all the crypto stuff, yeah, we're starting to get into the swing of things. I mean, even though we've been debating whether or not we're in a new down cycle, an extended down cycle from the past, a failed cycle, whatever it is, the point is that this is all temporary. If you zoom out, at the end of the day, the Bitcoin 4-year cycle is still in a play until we're proven wrong. So until that happens, crypto is still going to continue just to keep on driving the way that it has been. And if prices are good to buy, cool, prices are good to buy. But at the end of the day, man, like, it's still going the same direction as it has been before.
Hey, Z, what do you guys think of the fact? So I've heard some people make this argument where, okay, so if the M2 flip bullish, if people have more capital to spend and to save and to invest, wouldn't that inevitably have an upwards pressure on inflation? What do you say about people who make that argument?
Yes and no. So theoretically, in the perfect
on
world,
the assets they're buying, frankly.
That's true, but I'll try to hit it from a more macro level, which is that the idea that the Fed can hold inflation at 2% year over year, and it's not an issue, is also predicated by the idea that on average the economy grows somewhere between 3 to 4%, sometimes a little hotter if it's a good year. So what that does is, what it pretty much means is that after you factor out inflation, the economy is still growing at about 1%. So theoretically, if everyone is all exposed to the market at the same level, which, I mean, they're not, by the way, but theoretically, if they were, then that means that every year, allegedly, every American should be seeing effectively like a 1% increase in their buying power for whatever it is, or also just the pure GDP output of the nation itself. So unfortunately, what we're seeing right now is that we've gotten to the point where the GDP growth is right around like 3 to 4%, and it's been dropping a little bit at the same time that inflation has been very high. So that we've seen the inverse of that, which is that instead of having increased buying power, we've seen decreased buying power. So does a increase in the M2 money supply always equal inflation? The answer is yes. But then the other half of the question is, okay, is it outpacing gains or is it not outpacing gains? If it is outpacing gains, then it's bad. That is bad inflation. If it is not outpacing gains, then that is what I will call tolerable inflation. I am still personally of the stance that the Federal Reserve mandate is still, it's pretty close to evil, because that means that if you stored money, try to be a good little boy and girl and save it for your children in the future, after 25 years, literally 50%, half of what you were trying to save, the value of it, at least, not the raw number of it, but the value and the buying power, literally half of it is gone. So just by you trying to be responsible and save money over 25 years, you've literally lost half of your thing. Again, that's some very bad math, but overall, it does compete with the idea, which is like, based on the fiat currency right now, some inflation is required to ensure that we don't like stagnate and go backwards. But at the same time, it also is always predicated on the idea that GDP has to be outpacing inflation. Lately, it's not.
Well, see, here's the thing about that, though. GDP, generally, one of the most important factors about it is population, right? Humans, the amount that you have. And so that's the reason why the whole birth rate thing is such a big deal. But what happens when you start putting machines in that place, right? Then GDP goes through the roof.
It's true. I mean, I know I definitely I feel like I might have sidestepped your question there, which is that is an increase in M2 also an increase in inflation? Yes. But Nate does have a good point there, where it's like pretty much GDP can be increased in a few different ways. You can either go find more stuff and more natural resources and to start producing it. You can either have more people doing more stuff when it comes to like services aspects, or you could also have more entrepreneurial creativity and effort, which is that you find more efficient ways to use what you're already using. Those are the ways that GDP grows. When GDP grows in those ways, inflation is not terrible. If you have an increase in inflation without increasing any of those, which we've seen lately, that's where it's not good.
Okay. Well, because I was thinking somewhere along the lines too that one of the reasons why it was so bad 2021, 2022 was because we also had a significant significant constraints on production and supply lines, right? Because everybody was still kind of scared. People were still staying inside. People weren't able to build. People weren't able, like these companies weren't able to move their supply. So not only did you have a significant amount of money in the market, but you also had, which obviously puts upward pressure on prices, but you also had constraints on the production side of things, which means there weren't enough goods to satisfy, or there weren't enough goods or services to satisfy the demand. So whatever goods and services were there, also like it was a double whammy, right? You had increasing prices because you had more money in circulation, and you had also increasing in prices because there weren't enough things to go around for people. So whatever was left there, it was like, well, whoever's going to pay me the highest amount is going to get the thing or the service, right? But I think some of that stuff now, especially when it comes to like our production lines, right? Like a lot of that is starting to iron themselves out again. So it's not going to create that same double whammy, like pressure, like upwards pressure on inflation, like it was when we were back in 2021, 2022, etc.
Correct. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just more dollars chasing the same amount of goods. If there's more dollars, you also got to make more goods. Otherwise, you really feel the inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
This is part of why everything's a fucking big ass Ponzi. For those
By the
of you
way,
at
can
home.
we, Mrs. Producer, can we pull up Bradley Langan's chat that says till they change the metrics again? Yes, this is in reference to, please keep in mind that when you start talking about government metrics measured by the Fed, like the M1 and M2 money supply, yeah, they've updated the way that they calculate those in the last decade so that the data we're looking at is not entirely stagnant. It is, it's changed based on how they want to quantify what is and what is not in each of the supplies.
Yep,
I just look at a
correct.
McChicken. A big chicken used to be like 89 cents back in the early 2000s. Now it's like $3.30. That's wild.
Nate,
Yep.
we used to have 24-hour Walmarts and $1 McChickens. We used to be a society.
Yeah, shout out to Bradley Langan. I know he joined us recently, shouting out Moonpill and having us coming. So good to see you, broski. Glad you're here.
Hey, Will, before we move on, can I share I have the chart of the M2 money supply here real quick. I just want to share it to give people a visual.
Yes, go right ahead. And by the way, I'm planning on moving into the article about Biden's roundtable next. So whoever's article that is, get ready.
Cool. Yeah, so here is a graphical representation of the M2 money supply. So if you take a look here, let me zoom in a little bit. What you'll see here is we came to a peak at March 2022, right? And then a precipitous drop all the way up into April of 2023. And here's what I was talking about when we just flipped bullish, right? We flipped bullish in March of this year. So can you imagine what happens to not just the traditional markets, but the crypto markets once we break all-time highs for M2, right? And so it's kind of like, so when I saw this chart, I was thinking, wow, this really looks like how the altcoins have been feeling over the past year or so, right? Bitcoin has been fairly bullish, but the altcoin market has, we've had some runners here and there, but for the most part, the altcoins, a lot of them, like every time they run, they tend to give back a majority of their gains. So just like be patient, guys, because at some point when the Fed does start QE, right? Like I said earlier, like me and Zenith were talking about M2 flip bullish, even though we're still not in a quantitative easing environment. What happens when the money printer turns on and we're in a interest rates are starting to decrease? Like once we're back up here and cracking new all-time highs for M2, like that's when we're gonna have fun with the altcoins, man. So just be patient, guys.
Agreed. I know it's a lesser known chart, but if you can also go, it's harder to find. I think you might have to have TradingView Premium to find it. But
I don't have the Great Value Trading View.
There you go. Me too. As you say, if you can find the Bitcoin chart charted against the M2 money supply, I think that is a very telling chart. It's one of the ones that Axis brought up back when we had our Mega TA stream back in March, and it was talking about how the last peak in the Bitcoin versus M2 money supply was back in 2017. If you look at the M2 money supply and everything going on during the 2021 peak, there was so much inflation in the supply that when charted against it, Bitcoin did not make a new all-time high. Now, we're at the point now on that chart where we've actually reached that point of the 2021 peak. So if it keeps going this way, it's very possible that on that chart we could start making a new high. So what that says is that the value of Bitcoin is actually starting to trend higher up against the value of total US dollars in existence, pretty much.
Damn. That's what's up. I like the sound of that.
Excellent. All right, guys, we're going to do a quick little transition. But before we transition into that next article about the roundtable stuff, I'll do a quick little shout out for our good friends, Bradley Langan. Again, I shouted him out earlier. He was chatting with Moonpilled Rational Optics, Mrs. Producer. Can't Call the Bull, Fall Volume 1. So shout out to Bradley. Good to have you here. Next up, we got Dre Sims being very happy that he's joining the Brokies Club. Well, I mean, joke's on you, bro. You're watching us, so. Next up, we got Anonymous Sucro. Slim Shady is a Republican, and Marshall is a Democrat. I think I can't remember if that's in some sort of song or in some sort of thing, but that sounds about right. That Slim Shady would be the cool one.
You know what's hilarious is Tim McDonald already made a music video rap about "boom you" or "bitch you missed."
Yep. Oh. We've also got Paul Sachs over here with a motherfucking chat. Shout out. Good to see you, boys. Good to see you too. Good, Paul Sachs. It
was good hanging out with Paul on the Hangout on Friday. He was there with the boys representing.
Excellent. Yeah, I just saw him in real life too, and delivered him a one of my brother's cookbook things, which I've got like 2 of them left. I have one saved for you, Agent J, as requested, and I'm running out of those things. It's finally time for me to stop passing those around the States. Oh, and shout out to Disclosure Crypto. Could check out Gary Network, or could check Gary Network out, guys. I don't know who that is, but I've said his name.
Gary Gensler's own personal L1.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
I'm going to pull it up real quick, but go ahead, Will.
Oh, man. Gary. All right. Trump on Pulse is pumping. Oh, DRT is. Oh, that's pretty cool. I don't know who paired DRT up with Donald Trump, but shout out to you, whoever you might do that. I guess you guys are bringing up the price of PGIF as well, because DRT is tied very heavily into to PGIF. So whoever's pumping. So shout out to all those guys that are like the Trump is paired up to the DRT coin is paired up really heavily to like 28M or there's some fucking coins out there, but that's super funny that all the Trump guys are pumping each other's bags. So this is what happens with liquidity bonding with Hart's Law, everybody. If a bunch of coins are paired to a whole bunch of other coins, then whenever one of them pumps, then like all of the arbitrage bots are like, ooh, all these other things are on sale now. And so they'll fucking buy and sell and basically like even out the prices. And so it like if a bunch of people are buying Trump coin and it's paired up with DRT, then eventually it becomes cheaper to buy DRT in order to sell it to get Trump coin. And then after a certain point, like the DRT is so valuable that like it's cheaper to buy the DRT or to buy the P die, or not the P die, excuse me, the P GIF to get the DRT to sell for the Trump coin, and yada yada yada. So it presents arbitrage opportunities, and most of that's taken care of by bots and things. But if you're lucky enough to catch it before the bots do, then you can make some fucking money, guys. So congratulations to all the-
DRT is up 45% on the week.
Oh my god, that's fucking ridiculous. So shout out to everybody who bought this stupid fucking coin. That's awesome. I love it. This is
Shout out
this
to
is
everybody that bought up and left $155 in liquidity.
Oh my god, that is hilarious. That is too cool. So yeah, so for those of you guys who don't know, DRT is a stupid meme coin that was made live on the air here on the DGen Roundtable by our good friend CryptoSloth. Shout out to CryptoSloth. Not financial advice, but you should not buy this fucking coin. It's fucking stupid, and yeah, it's a big old joke.
I could do a quick TA on Gary Network for Disclosure Crypto.
Okay, go for it.
Be super quick.
Go for it. We'll give Gary some of our love since we.
So I don't know much about the project, Disclosure Crypto, but this is not a good chart, man. This is not a good chart.
Yo, Jay, look at the
represents
RSI.
Gary.
It never got out of oversold.
Bro,
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, here's the thing. So there was a bit of positivity for this move here up in December of last year, DC, because at the very minimum, right, this thing rallied with the rest of the market. However, what concerns me greatly is not only did it not rally with the rest of the altcoins when Bitcoin
This was monthly.
this is the monthly chart, guys, right?
Oh
So,
my god.
like the fact that this thing did not rally with the rest of the alts when Bitcoin was heating up during Q1 to early Q2 of this year is very concerning, and it basically gave back all of its fucking gains, man. Right? So this thing right now, right, it doesn't have any support here on the monthly. Like literally the only support left is its all-time lows here, and the all-time lows are at 2 zeros and a 9. Right? That's the only support that this thing has before it goes into price discovery to the downside. So if there are people actually supporting this system, they're going to have to really come together and support this fucking project here at the bottom, because if this thing makes new lows at this point in the cycle, you're not going to get any gain. Like you're not going to be able to experience the gains that the rest of the alts who are holding up for the rest of this bull market, right? So like, I'm not trying to bag on it. I'm just telling you what I see on a chart, right? This thing did not make higher highs against its Bitcoin valuation when all the other alts were. So that's very, very concerning.
Hey, Jay, can you go to either the weekly or the daily just to see a little bit more? Okay.
Right?
Oh.
So like February and March of this year, it should have knocked out at the very minimum the December highs. At the very minimum. It didn't even get close. Did not even get close. Like that's really concerning.
Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to rag on the people that are involved in this stuff. It's just the unfortunate truth is that this is not a good looking chart.
Yeah. This is once again, I'm not looking at fundamentals. This is purely from a technical perspective. If something is not making if an altcoin is not outpacing Bitcoin during times when it's supposed to be outpacing Bitcoin, that is concerning, right? XRP and Cardano did better than this thing. That's saying a lot.
If you look, there's that one hump right before the April hash mark. That is when Bitcoin did make the all-time high. The concerning thing there is that pump didn't get above the previous wick of the last pump right before it. So considering that when the market is going into all-time highs, if this is not at least making newer local highs, there's something going on there. Yeah. Again, it's we're not saying it's a bad project by any means. We're just looking at the chart exclusively.
Yeah. Lower highs.
Yeah, it's got about 130 in dollars and $130,000 in liquidity. So
that too, right? So like nobody's providing any LPs for it. Like that's concerning. And what you have here is lower highs and lower lows, and it's trying to make a lower low. So again, purely a technical standpoint, I don't know anything about this project. I don't know anything about the fundamentals, but as far as the chart is concerned, it's not a good looking chart.
My God.
Yeah, and it's only got 3 LP pools, by the way, too. So the USDC, Sol, and then USDT. So
So
unfortunate.
he says, can we bring up his comment real quick? So he says, thank you, just taking views from you guys because I know the roadmap but didn't know about any TA. So from what you've explained to me, disclosure, so this is a streaming platform. Remember, like this is an early adopter of technologies that we already have plenty of in Web 2, right? If this is a Web 3 streaming platform, that means it's going to have to compete with things like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, YouTube, Rumble, right? So that's what this particular project is having to compete with. So if it is one of the few in this space that are trying to accomplish that, it might have a future in the future. But as far as like what's happening now, it doesn't look too good, right? But again, because it is on that bleeding edge of technology, then you're going to have to take some of these hits, right? But if the team keeps building and they really believe in this project and they're one of the first ones, then they're going to be the recognizable name in the space if they do start to take off. Right. So like if you believe in it, then that's fantastic. Right. Like I'm again not like trying to bag on it just from a purely technical standpoint. So
yeah, the thing that I'd be looking at as far as a roadmap is what is it that a Web3 streaming service has over just the Web 2?
Yeah, look at Friendtech, right? Friendtech made a good run, but it's like it's like the user base is down. So
yeah,
like
missing
these
a little
types
something.
of like these types of projects are going to have to like deal with the fact that there are established, very big companies in Web 2 already doing what they're trying to do, right? So that's your competition right there. So for Gary Network, their competition is Netflix and YouTube. Like those are big names to try and topple, man. Like, and we're at the very we are at the very beginning of Web3 adoption, right? So it's gonna take some time.
Here's the thing too that I want to point out. Let's say that they did figure it out and they start gaining popularity. What's to stop these much larger companies from just adopting what worked for them and then just crushing them? That's the thing I'm always like, especially with Friendtech. If Friendtech figures it out, like, oh, this is how we make, Twitter for Web3, right? If they get that figured out eventually, I'll think the only thing that I think is going to happen is that these large social media platforms are just going to say, hey, that works. I'll just take that, steal it, and put it on our own. And it's just going to turn into a mess for Friendtech.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, the advantage that these Web3 companies have is they're crypto native. So yeah, do Netflix and YouTube have the capital to like hire very good people? Yeah, sure, absolutely they do. But they're going to be behind the 8 ball because they're not Web3 native. So that's one advantage that these companies are going to have.
All right, excellent. Are we all finished with this one?
Yeah, that was good for a laugh.
Yes, sir.
That chart was hilarious.
Okie dokie. That was bad, dude. When I saw that was a monthly, I thought that was like a daily or something. Then I looked and I saw that little M because I heard you say last year, and I was like, "The fuck? How long has Gary Chain been like in existence?" Like I thought it was a fun little joke, that somebody is like, oh, "Okay, this is like a 15-minute chart or something." Cool beans. So somebody made a chart and it went down. It's like, no, dude, this has been nothing but down for like over a year. Like that was what made it 2023 sometime.
Let's see. So this starts off at May.
I restarted the conversation.
Yeah,
22.
Yeah, May of 22.
Rough time to launch projects.
God damn. All right, guys. Hard transition time. So the next article that we're going to be covering is Biden's senior advisor attends crypto roundtable with industry leaders, hinting at a potential shift in the tone from Mr. Popular. So, oh shoot. Okay. All right. So the actual article's name, I didn't realize that you can like rename articles in our little our little thing there. Okay, excellent. So the actual article's name is U.S. Lawmakers Meet with Crypto Advocates in D.C. Roundtable. And my favorite part about this article was the fact that it said Roundtable in the name, which I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we happen to be a part of the DGen Roundtable. So shout out to those guys, wherever they might be. But Agent J, this was your article, if I remember correctly. Yeah. All right. Can you give the folks at home a brief synopsis while I figure out how to share my screen here?
Yeah, for sure. So really the interesting part about this particular piece of news was that it was Biden's senior advisor. Her name is Anita Dunn. The roundtable was comprised of names.
Bro, she needs it done.
Yeah.
Oh my god, is this a joke?
No.
Oh
It's
my
not.
god.
That's actually the name of the person.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So
Please-
some of
sorry.
the names that you guys are going to be familiar with, right? You have Rokana, you have Kristen Gillibrand, right, working with our regulators to create a regulatory structure for crypto. The Crypto Council for Innovation, you guys should be familiar with that. We've also spoken about them before. Coinbase Legal Chief Officer Paul Graywall, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, and then Mark Cuban, very pro Bitcoin, very pro crypto, right? And so exactly what they discussed over this roundtable, well, just a few things. And according to this tweet, they discussed things like how prevalent is the crypto voter. You guys should be familiar with the fact that over like 18 million Americans are crypto holders, right? Let's say that only a fifth of that voter base actually went to the polls and voted. Remember, we are a very single issue type of voter, right? And so if we know one guy is very pro crypto and the other guy is very anti crypto, you know who we're going to vote for. We're going to vote for the guy who's going to pump our bags, right? So that's one of the things I discussed here, right? So the presence of the crypto voter is very prevalent because even 10 to 20 million votes, right? Let's just say a fifth or a quarter of those voters went to the polls. It's enough to swing an election. Because if you looked at the history of elections within the past few decades here in the United States, it's been pretty down the middle, right? So a few million votes, yeah, that could definitely swing in a different direction, right? The crypto advocate, right? We're getting much louder. We've been winning a considerable amount in these cases against the SEC. The fact that the crypto industry is maturing, right? Even though, yes, we are a little bit behind the 8 ball here in the West. You know, folks over there in the EU, they have Mika, a whole bunch of different entities. Look at what's happening in Hong Kong and Taiwan, right? They're trying to establish themselves, Hong Kong in particular, as the Web3 hub for the entire world. So yeah, the crypto industry is maturing. Not to mention the fact that you got guys and gals like BlackRock, Fidelity, ARK Invest creating Bitcoin ETFs, Ethereum ETFs that just got approved. You have to start trading probably next week. Who knows? And you got Solana ETFs waiting to be approved probably sometime in Q1 of next year. So these are the things that they were discussing during this entire roundtable. And the reason why this is particularly bullish for the market is because if Biden's senior advisor is there, the speculation is, right, I think it wouldn't be unreasonable to believe that maybe he is starting to turn his opinion on these things, because if you look at the very bottom, I'm going to read it here, right? It seems like President Biden, this is from the article, it seems like President Biden has also reportedly considered having his campaign accept crypto contributions for his re-election campaign in 2024. Now, obviously, if you're like an anti-crypto dude and you're like, yeah, donors, we accept crypto, it's kind of here, like it is pretty damn hypocritical, right? And it's gonna like put up red flags. Like why would the crypto native, even if you're a raging liberal, right, but you like crypto, why would you donate crypto to the guy who's trying to FUD your bags and push it down to zero? It just doesn't make sense, right? So once again, not an unreasonable assumption to make that because Anita Dunn is here, Biden's senior advisor, that he's trying to get like stories from both sides of the aisle. I believe Warren, or maybe let's go and send Anita Dunn down there and get some of her insights from some of the leading names in industry. So just a little bit of speculation over what went on during that roundtable meeting. So I'll go ahead and throw it over to you guys and give me your thoughts about this particular piece of news.
Hey, Will, can you scroll up to the tweet in the article?
Yes,
or whoever's
I can.
controlling the article?
Yep. Say when.
This tweet right
this
here, if accurate, is a very good and main takeaway, which saying that from Kirsten Smith, today's roundtable led by Representative Ro Khanna with crypto leaders and White House reps was a thoughtful step towards crypto in D.C. Key points shared. The crypto voter is real, the crypto advocate is active, and the crypto industry is mature. It's working. Let's keep up the momentum. If that's true, then each one of those facts is actually a pretty big deal, because it's saying that if the crypto voter is real, that is a new voting block that can be tapped into. Mm-hmm. If the crypto advocate is active, then that means that the industry is actually advocating for itself. I mean, based on everything going on right now and all the lawsuits flying left and right, yeah, people have a lot of skin in the game, and they're actually willing to fight for this stuff now. And then lastly, having a mature industry. This is very, very important because now we're actually seeing TradFi get in, and we can continue to see the influx of money coming into this. So assuming that these are all true, these are all good points. However, at the same time, I also would like to point out that I believe Biden he didn't officially veto, but I believe he pocket vetoed SAB 121, which if you've been watching the show, you probably remember, which is not really promising for me, which in my personal opinion, it's kind of asking the question, okay, if you have blocked crypto legislation to make it more free, so to speak, why are you now bringing in the professionals to deal with this stuff now? I don't want to get like too black-pilled with it, but I think it could possibly be a cynical play, especially if point number one here is true, which is that if a crypto voter does exist, then it means that there is incentive to almost pander to them, so to speak, which is that you might just be having talking points, but you don't actually want to make their lives better. You're just trying to make sure that you're not scaring them away. So that's a bit of a cynical view, as a bit of a bearish take.
Not cynical at all. It is, if he is pandering to the crypto voter, he's not doing a very good job. Like
that's true. That's very
vetoing
true.
121 was the worst thing he could have done for his position in crypto, right? Because the easiest thing that Biden could have said was like, okay, coming from the big guy now, Gary, if you don't want this accounting bulletin to be overturned and it would limit your ability to create something like this in the future, then just give the senators and the Congress people what they want and do the fucking modifications. But that's not what he did. He just vetoed it. It could have been a very easy win for both him and for Gary to just modify the damn thing like Congress and Senate asked him to do. But he was like, nope, it's easier for me to veto, so I'm just going to veto it. So if he is pandering, he's not doing a very good job. And unlike the common voter, crypto people are very single issue voters, and they take this shit very seriously, right? So they're going to be able to smell pandering from a mile away. That's why a lot of people don't really trust Donald Trump when he says he's pro-crypto. Why? Because we know that he's going to try and pander to the voter base. Whether it's true or not, nobody cares. We're going to try and sniff a rat where it exists, right? People like crypto people are very, very suspicious by nature. So,
yeah, that's the reason why we're here. When you look at active wallets, right? And this is to your point, Jay, about how important this is. We've got approximately 80 million around the world. So considering that United States is right around anywhere from 40 to 35% of that, you're looking at a good like 30, maybe probably about 30 million wallets. Let's just go ahead and keep the numbers simple, right? 30 million wallets. And then how many of those are like multiple wallets? Well, maybe we cut that down to, say 10 million, right? But at the same time, that is still 10 million single-sided voters, right? Yeah. You say, I'm going to pump your bags, and that's 10 million people already voting for you around the United States.
There are more crypto holders in the United States than there are registered dog owners. Yeah.
That's an interesting fact.
Interesting fact, right? People like crypto more than they like dogs, apparently. But again, tongue in cheek, that could be multiple people, like multiple wallets, people holding anywhere from fractions of a Satoshi to multiple like Bitcoin. So, tongue in cheek.
If you register things with the government, then you're a silly goose, and I will stand by that, and I will die on that hill. Boats, cars, guns, whatever. Don't do it. Just kidding. That's bad advice. Do the things that you determine to be reasonable. And accept the consequences of your own fucking decisions, you silly gooses out there. I love you all, but for fuck's sake, we are not a financial advice show. We are not a life coach show. You guys can't blame the magical internet men for all your problems. So go out there, make the world a better place. And Zenith, I remember hearing from you earlier that you have some cool stuff to share with the audience. So I'm interested in seeing.
I have a quick quip. You mentioned that Anita Dunn in the article has a pretty good name there, but I would like to introduce you to one of my favorite WNBA players.
Delana Ballmer.
Oh my God, this poor lady.
I certainly don't.
So for the folks at home who know that I give out constant fake financial advice here to go rob banks. When I was a very young lad, my father showed me a joke book called, and like on the front cover it said "How to Get Rich Quick," and it was written by Robin Banks, and that's where that
Bro,
joke comes from.
wonderful.
So. Yep. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and transition on over into the next article, which I'm going to look at right now. The RNC passes a policy platform that advocates for crypto and BTC mining. So the article is U.S. Republicans under Trump include crypto in official party platform. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Bazinga. There we go. So I've like overlaid my second screen like right on top of the StreamYard thing. So this works very well. All right. So U.S. Republicans under Trump include crypto as an official party platform. So this is pretty interesting. I like that this is happening. I like that there's a whole bunch of new stuff going on, and that a lot of people, I saw in that last article that Biden was considering accepting cryptocurrency donations.
Yes, he was.
To his campaign. So Jay, why don't you go ahead and take it away and describe this article for the folks at home.
So this is just basically breaking down a more detailed portion of the RNC platform, right? So they came out with a statement exactly what their views are and what their plans are for crypto as a group. And if you go and scroll down a little bit there, Will, to Nick Carter's tweet, it's going to give you a short TLDR, right, of what exactly is on the statement. And it's pretty self-explanatory, right? They're going to move forward to end crypto crackdowns, which probably has implications for the SEC and Gary Gensler. No CBDC, so coming out in support for states like, for example, I believe Florida, like with their senator there, they were like, look, we're not going to have CBDCs here. Protecting the right to mine, the right to self-custody, right? Because a lot of people within the space, one of their primary concerns is that, look, they don't like, these entities do not like it when you don't have KYC. So one of the primary concerns it's a valid concern, is that we are getting these people onto our team and they're thinking that it's a good thing, but you might just be inviting the snake into your bedroom, right? Like you might be sleeping with the snake. And so watch your back. And so the fact that they're coming out with a statement and it says, look, we know you guys like your ability to, stay pseudonymous, and that you like to self-custody your own wallets, and that you like the fact that you don't have to do any KYC, right, when it comes to crypto. So this is very, very positive in that regard, right? But again, right, see if they're just trying to pander to you or not, if they're actually being genuine. Just something to consider, right? But it's a good thing. And then finally, the right to transact freely, which is like an amendment, like it's a right given to you by the Constitution, right? Like to be able to transact and move freely is something that is promised to us by the Constitution. That's something that the RNC shouldn't have to promise us, but we know that one side is probably want to take that away. So that's basically the gist of this particular article. So good that they're coming out with an official statement for it. Bullish.
Hey, Will, can you scroll up? There's a paragraph right above the tweet that I want to read out real quick. So it says, quote, this is from the updated platform on the website, quote, "We will defend the right to mine Bitcoin and ensure every American has the right to self-custody of their digital assets and transact free from government surveillance and control." So I know it might seem like pandering some folks, but I like this right here because it seems like an appeal to actual values and actual principles, which is that this seems more along the lines of freedom and less restriction. And I think that when you hearing a statement like this, obviously it's probably cultivated and crafted by someone who understands crypto, but that's also the point, which is that hearing someone talk about it in this way, it leads me to believe that, okay, these people actually understand what it is and not just trying to like slap buzzwords on it and be like, haha, shiny object, go here. So the idea that you can transact free from government surveillance and control, I know it is a bit of an oxymoron when it comes to anything blockchain related. However, at the same time, it goes beyond just the actual digital ledger. It goes to all the things that Jay was talking about, which is like KYC information, and then also tracking actual transactions from banks to crypto platforms.
Yeah. It'll be a positive step, especially if they follow through in it. Like, can you imagine being free from government surveillance? Because let's be honest here, every single moment of our lives, the government can track, right? Like, unless you're one of the rare people who live completely off the grid, there are cameras everywhere. There are microphones everywhere. Like, they can pull up your information if they wanted to. So if they actually follow through with this and like guarantee to people the ability to transact with their money the way that they want, in this case, like for us to be able to self-custody our assets and they're not going to touch that, like that's like good on them, bro. Like good on them.
I like it. Seems principled, and I like people with principles.
Yes.
Mhm.
People with principles never go out of style. Any final comments, or I will switch on over to the next one.
I
The
hope
lines in go for it. Sorry.
I hope they allow Tornado Cash back in.
Oh man, dude,
One
that
can
would
only
be-
hope.
That
Oh.
man, I don't have
I
that
came
much
down to-
faith. But go
I
ahead.
came
Nate.
back to I hope they bring Tornado Cash back. Yeah, that would be awesome.
We all wish.
They're making these really large promises, Nate, like the ability to transact free from government surveillance and control. Well, I mean, Tornado Cash is pretty well within that line of like well within that spirit. So
Here's what I'll say. I'm gonna reframe it a little bit because like they don't have the power to let Tornado Cash in or to stop it or to start it or do anything. Tornado Cash exists. What the government could do is pull their fucking little fingers out of this grubby little pie that they keep trying to jam it into, and like stop them from going after people that are creating things that the people want, that like helps the people. So that's what I will say is if the government like stops trying to prosecute people who are trying to go after freedom, if they drop the charges, they say, dude, we're super sorry. Here's some restitution for us wasting your fucking life and making the whole world lose faith in us. But I mean, I very much doubt that's going to happen. This is a very, very pie in the sky kind of ordeal. So anyways, next up, oh, actually, real quick, make sure that you guys at home smash that like button and then go ahead and on down and click that subscribe and make sure that you notify all under that little bell icon there. So that way you guys can know when we go live. Speaking of which, we go live every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern. So you guys can catch us here talking about all sorts of things. On Wednesdays, we generally cover a special guest, or we all get toasted on stream and hang out with the boys. So if you're a person and you want to hang out with us and chit chat, or if you just want to make your streaming presence known, then come on over to our Whiskey Wednesdays. On Friday, we cover book club, as Zenith had said earlier. He covers one week, I cover the next, and we just find cool books that we want to talk about. And then we share our feelings on the internet. And Sunday, as you guys can see right now, is our news article show. So that's generally what happens over here at the DGen Roundtable. So make sure you like that smash button, and then you head on over and subscribe and notify everything. Moving on next into the next article that we're going to cover is a Coin Telegraph article that covers the Genesis moving 12,000 Bitcoin on the tail end of
Will,
the
Z
German.
wanted to cover the Germany article first. Can we do that one first?
Yeah, that is the German. Oh wait, no, just kidding.
You
Wait,
said Genesis.
what's the truth about the German Bitcoin sell-off? That one?
Yes.
Correct.
yes.
Oh, okay.
CoinDesk.
All right, sweet. Yeah, I see it. Okay, we're pulling that one up right a meow. Okay, so Zenith, while I'm pulling it up, can you give the folks a brief explanation of what is this German sell-off?
Absolutely. So, with the recent price movement of Bitcoin, when we dropped down rather low, there's a big question of why and how. And there were three possible explanations we got for it. First off, we had Mt. Gox starting to actually repay people back, shows an outflow of Bitcoin and possibly people selling to recapitalize or recuperate some gains, or just weakness in the market because more Bitcoin is actually entering the market. After that, we have FTX starting to repay some people as well. So again, same thing, another exchange. But the third point is this one here, which is that it was noted that the German government was actually selling about $3 billion worth of Bitcoin. I mean, that sounds impressive, but in reality, it's about 50,000 Bitcoin as the raw number of it. So the question was, why? I know that when this gets brought up and not everyone had the details, but like, why on earth would you sell this much Bitcoin right now, especially when everybody that's pretty much entrenched in the space knows that we're kind of only going up from here? So this article right here talks about why this happened. And the answer is it kind of was procedural. So what happened was that they seized about 49,857 Bitcoin previously. from an operator of an illegal movie website. And then this is actually specifically one of the, German folks, please forgive me, a precinct, not the entire German country, but a small area of Germany called Saxony. This is from their local law enforcement. So the state of Saxony is the people that were doing this, not the entire German government. And the reason that they sold it is because it was procedural. They seized the Bitcoin back in January, and then as part of just their standard practice, they had to sell it. So that's why they did. So there you go. There's the answer of why Germany sold the Bitcoin. If you keep going down in the article, a lot of people were talking some serious smack about it. Good. Yeah, the tweet right there. Imagine selling the hardest money on earth for something you can print out of thin air. Germany's government officials are literal idiots. Yeah, people were going hard on this one, but the reality is that this stuff was kind of pre-programmed. If they wanted to deviate, they could have done something, but they didn't. So it happened automatically.
Yep.
So to give Saxony some grace, right? Because I still think it was a bad move. But so, like you mentioned, they could have gone a different direction with it, right? They could have held on to the Bitcoin. However, one of the reasons, the article also mentioned this, that they could have had for selling was that so they can sell the seized assets if there is a concern of significant price volatility within that particular asset, right? So, like, I mean, one of the most volatile assets in the system is Bitcoin, right? We don't think that because it's the most stable, but to everybody else around the world, Bitcoin is still a pretty high risk on asset, right? So the fact of the matter is, I guess the people over there in Saxony, right, the local law enforcement thought, look, it's really volatile. We should probably sell it while it's hovering around $65,000 because I think that's the price point when the sell-off really started to take off. And so like they just capitalized on it, and to them it was a pretty good reason, right? It's like, well, this is a volatile asset. They might not have they probably don't have anybody in their camp whispering to their ear, talking about like how, yeah, I know it's volatile at the moment, but this thing is projected to hit a minimum of $100,000 this year, if not a high point of $240,000 by the end of 2025. So we might want to hold on to it, right? I don't think they had anybody in their corner telling them of what the 4-year cycle implications are for the price of Bitcoin. So they just decided to sell, right? So a little bit of grace there for the German government. This was a procedural thing. It wasn't like they were like, yeah, we're going to be like a long Bitcoin for the rest of the year and hold on to all this Bitcoin before selling it. And I think you can even make the argument that it was good for the market because it helped keep the cycle intact for the most part, right? It didn't allow us to get too overheated too soon.
For sure. I think one of the perspectives that we have is that we're attacking this from investors ourselves. And the reality is that this is an institution of the state, which is that this is a government. Governments, per se, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, Germany, but governments are not here for a profit incentive. Governments are here as a will and a just vestige of the people to accomplish the will and maintain order and justice. So is the German government supposed to make money? No. But also, even if they did, if you take the absolute highest price in January and the lowest price that we have here, we had Bitcoin top out in January when we had the ETF announcement at about 49,000, and then even the recent low was about 53,500. So either way you dice it, they did technically make money on the exchange after holding it. But at the same time, though, this is me interjecting personal philosophy on this one, which is that if you are a government, is it better to hold this Bitcoin and try to make money on it, or is it also reasonable to just follow your own procedures, sell the money, and then, I don't know, maybe use some of that funds to help improve your local community? Not a crazy idea.
Yeah.
Well, see, now you're thinking like an investor, though, you know? I mean, it's like, come on. You really think that they're trying to do all that? They can just print that money out of thin air.
I mean, I don't know if Saxony can print money out of thin air. I'm sure that Germany probably could, but also at the same time, I believe Germany is part of the EU, and they're also one of the economic powerhouses of the EU. This is I'm not super familiar with all the European politics and how they feel about everything, but my understanding of the EU was that it pretty much was like Britain, France, and Germany really just pulling everyone else behind them when it comes to economic power. So that's part of why you saw the Brexit movement, which was like, all right, we're tired of kind of like being ruled by these other people when in reality we're paying the bills for most of them. And then I know Germany probably felt very, very similarly because they are, I believe, the leading economic powerhouse for the EU. I don't know if they're still on the euro or if they have the Deutschmark. I know I'm a little I don't know on that one, but at the same time, could they print money? Yes. Can Saxony print money? No.
Oh man. So I will say that with this sale, the Bitcoin has left the hands of the non-believers. It is now in the hands of the believers, because you know who was doing the buy-in while Germany was selling? Oh, good old Uncle BlackRock and Uncle Vanguard and
Yeah.
Uncle.
I was going to say Michael Saylor, but
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
Uncle
Yeah,
Uncle
definitely
Sailor.
Taylor.
Uncle Michael
Remember the
Saylor.
chart? Remember the chart I pulled up earlier? All of those inflows happened during the time that Germany spent selling.
Hey,
Like those
you know,
green bars on the chart that were going up for the ETF inflows, that was happening while Germany was selling. It was hilarious, bro. Because you could literally overlay the inflows over the days that like the outflow of Bitcoin from the wallets that Arkham was tracking. Like you could track the outflows, and then the inflows of the ETFs during that time period is like red into green. I was like, what the hell, bro? Like these guys are actually really buying the dip.
Michael
Yep.
Saylor, thanks you for your contribution.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and hop on over into the Cointelegraph article about Genesis labeled address moves 720 million Bitcoin to Coinbase, pointing to start of asset liquidations. So, what does this mean, and why should people care? Zenith, ready, set, go. Or
You
no?
should care because
Was
it's a
this-
good chunk of money. It's not
Is
my
this-
article, but I can
Oh,
talk
it's not
about
your
it.
article? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
this is
All right.
another one of mine.
Jay, ready, set, go. Just kidding. Zenith.
Yeah. So if you guys notice why the market had a bit of a volatile movement, I think this was sometime on Friday or late night Thursday, was because wallets that Arkham were tracking, in particular related to Genesis and so if for those who don't know, a little bit of a background. Genesis is the defunct lending arm of Barry Silbert's digital currency group. They were in a partnership with the Gemini twins, right, for the Gemini Earn program. And when shit hit the fan back in 2022, both of those ships basically sank, right? And so the 12,000 or so Bitcoin that started moving in their wallet, the speculation is it's because they're starting to give their money back to their creditors. Now, 12,000 might not seem like a lot in comparison to the 50,000 that started moving with Germany, but so Will has it posted right now. If you look a little bit there in the bottom, the 12,000 is part of a larger sum of about 46,000 Bitcoin that belongs to that wallet, right? And so they have almost as much Bitcoin as the German government had before they started to sell, right? And so obviously when the market got one of this news, people got a little bit shaken. So, I mean, is it unreasonable to assume that people thought, "Oh, you mean Germany is out of their 50,000 and now we have another 46,000 Bitcoin that could potentially be dumped into the market." So obviously people reacted negatively, right? It's a fair thing to assume. But I think the difference here is that this might be on a vesting schedule the same way that the Mt. Gox coins are going to be in a vesting schedule. So unlike Germany, who dumped lump sums of Bitcoin over the past week and a half or so, I think the Bitcoin that's going to be coming out of Gemini, the Gemini Earn program, right? The Bitcoin that's going to be coming out of the Mt. Gox stuff is going to be an investing schedule. So it's not going to be dumped onto the market in lump sums the same way that Germany was doing, right? So I think there's a little bit of a positive spin there. But just an update for you folks. If you were wondering why there was a little bit of a panic on Friday, because it seems like there's another 46,000 Bitcoin that could potentially be liquidated out there on the open market, right? And this is from your guy, Mr. Barry Silbert and the Gemini twins. They're now defunct lending platform, the Gemini Earn program. So that's what's going on with this particular amount of Bitcoin, right? So that's why people were concerned.
Okay. Excellent. Well, sweet. Well, we got time for another article that we can touch on real quick. the SEC investigation into Paxos. So
This
I
one
will
was
go
hilarious.
ahead.
This one is sad and hilarious at the same time.
Yep, I am pulling it up right now. Share this tab instead. All right. Oh, I don't want to sign up for free. No, thank you. All right. So SEC drops probe into Paxos. BUSD signaling shift in stablecoin stance. What does this mean, Jay?
So this one was hilarious and upsetting at the same time. And it just kind of shows exactly why some people argue that you should be able to hold these public entities and public officials like Gary, like this, the SEC, accountable for what they do because of things like this. So Paxos, for those of you who don't know, they're the ones who helped issue the BUSD, right? Which was Binance's stablecoin. And because the SEC started an investigation, obviously some of that actually came to fruition, right? CZ's in jail for approximately 4 months. And so because the SEC came after Paxos and they came after Binance, they basically had to stop issuing the BUSD, right? And before they went kaputs, BUSD was one of the highest market cap by market capitalization stable coins out in the market, right? And because the SEC went after them, now they're basically gone. And then what this article is telling us is that now Gary and crew have basically said, you know what, everything's okay. We're going to stop our investigation on you guys. So you basically help eliminate one of the largest market cap stable coins in the space, potentially hurting Binance as a company because they don't just operate here in the US, right? Binance is an international company. They're bigger outside of the US than they are here, right? And so you just basically took their ability to issue a stable coin, and now you're coming out and saying, oh, everything seems to be fine. You guys can go on and conduct business as usual. After like what? Now they have nothing. Now they don't have a stable coin, right? And so like your incompetencies has led to potentially hurting investors, right? The company as a whole conduct their business because you had a bone to pick with this entity in particular and with the crypto market in particular. So I just thought, like, yeah, I can see the argument that some people are making that you should be able to hold some of these folks accountable because, like, this is just silly to me, bro. Like, it reminds me of what happened with Debtbox. Like, Debtbox is never going to be able to get up off the ground. Binance is okay, right? Binance is okay because they're one of the leading entities in the space. Like, they'll be okay. CZ will be out in prison in a few months, and he'll go on in business as usual. But what happens if it was a smaller company, right? Like, you're like, is that the best consolation that you can give them? Sorry. Like, it seems like all your books are in order, conduct business as usual. After you spent all of this time, you couldn't conduct business. You might have spent millions of dollars in legal fees, but sorry, that's all we got for you. You have our condolences, but we're not going to give you any of that time or any of that money back.
Yeah, I remember when we talked about that a while back about Binance, and we were speaking about how the process is the punishment. You like whether it's intended to be the punishment or not, that is the end result. Is that the person who's being served, the person who has to represent themselves to the governing agencies, whoever they might be, like just going through this whole nightmare and losing all that value and everything. That's the real tragedy. Yeah. And there is no making whole on it when found innocent.
You can't.
Like shit.
Like you can't recuperate the time and the finances. Like that's the thing. So like, is it fair that some people are calling for these regulators to be held accountable? Yeah, like I can understand that because as an entrepreneur, right? A lot of us here, a lot of the people in our group, they're entrepreneurs. Like, can you imagine if an entity took away years of business from you? And then suddenly one day they just came up with a sorry, but we're not gonna compensate you for the money or the time that you lost. Like, that's just silly. That's just silly.
Yeah, Grayscale knows about that one all too well.
Yeah, and like,
so
go ahead.
I got a lighter point and a more serious point. So for folks at home, by the way, remember that CZ did only get 4 months in jail. And by the way, he started his jail sentence on April 30th. We talked about it on the Hangout on Friday. But if you do want to write him while he's in prison and be a pen pal, we did find his address and you can actually write to him. We will post that to the Telegram chat below. I will be writing myself. But then outside of that, yeah, exactly what Jay's talking about here, which is that sometimes the process is the punishment, and that's kind of the worst part about it. I know from the law enforcement perspective, it's you have reasonable suspicion and probable cause. You need reasonable suspicion to open an investigation, but you really need probable cause to actually charge people with things. In an ideal world, once you achieve that minimum level of suspicion to open the investigation, you should be able to produce some sort of fruit out of it, as opposed to just open investigations into whatever the hell you want just because you got a judge somewhere to rubber stamp it and be like, yeah, go get him, whatever. It's like, that's not good, because at that point, the process does become the punishment. I know the debt box guys did technically get some sort of restitution from the government, which, by the way, is super rare. The reason for that is that there's qualified immunity on certain government officials doing official actions, but also at the same time, at a higher level, if you have the ability to sue the government for malpractice, then the government kind of becomes a little bit of a piggy bank. I know this is a very cynical take and really pushing it to 100 here, but if you can sue the government money out of it, then that might create a bit of a perverse incentive where you're effectively just suing to get your cut of taxpayer money, which I would argue is not a good thing. But at the same time, the system we have right now also has its own foibles. This is being one of them. The best thing that the debt box guys can say at the end of the day is not that they just got their money back, but they can kind of claim personally that they buried the SEC's Salt Lake City office that got shut down, and multiple of the agents in that case were fired from the SEC. So
resigned.
As far as I can read between the lines. That is they can still claim that as a W. I know it's not the W they wanted, because at the same time their operation was still like unjustly shut down for I think a year, about pretty much, and US citizens' funds were seized as part of it. So it's like, was there a lot of damage along the way? Yeah. Did they get made whole by it? Yeah, a bit, but at the same time, that is a very rare case. And the vast majority of people out there, like Grayscale, who pretty much were fighting the SEC for 2 years, and then ultimately a court came back at the SEC and said, hey, you guys suck at applying your own rules, and you're pretty much doing it arbitrarily. There was no money. There was no settlement. They just let Grayscale do the thing they wanted to do for 2 years, and then all that lost cost, they just had to eat it.
They
and
just
that was
had
a
to
lot.
eat it, yeah. Like that's a good point too that you made, Zenith, about how some of the funds frozen, well, probably most of it were customer funds, right? So people didn't have access to those funds. So not only did you basically run the company into the ground, you also basically hurt all of their investors. So like that's just not cool.
There's a lot of people that are tangentially connected to these things. It is not a pure, you are affecting this one person. No, you are affecting the entire network connected to that.
Yeah. I wanted to like zone in on one of your comments though. So you brought up the fact that when the SEC brings a case to a judge, right? The judges up until this point had just had a tendency to kind of like rubber stamp, okay, like you guys are the experts in this matter, then let's go ahead, like we have enough probable cause here for an investigation, so let's go ahead and go with the proceedings, right? Maybe now, especially with what happened with the Chevron deference case, maybe now the judges are going to be a little bit more critical when things of this nature are brought to them, right? Because they're going to have like this backlog of cases where they're going to look and say, well, you know what? We gave you a rubber stamp to do the investigation before. Maybe we're not going to be we're not going to be freely giving you that rubber stamp of approval as easily moving forward, because you screwed a lot of people over. Right.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If you go back and you look at the public record from the judge in the debt box case in particular, the judge actually in there says that due to the malpractice of the SEC agents involved in that one, they ruined decades of trust that was built up between the court and the SEC. They were like, look, I used to be able to trust you guys and know that you're being good faith actors and that you had very, very good cause for the actions you're taking. You've demonstrated that you are the exact opposite of that now, and that is something that you are not going to get back. So yeah, that is one of those cases where it's like they ruined the the reputation of the agency in the process. But then, unfortunately, the other issue is that there's a lot of courts everywhere. I know the Supreme Court is the one that gets brought up the most, but that's because it's the court that rules. It is the highest court in the land. Outside of that, there are a lot of courts for a lot of other different reasons, whether it's circuit courts, district courts, appeals courts, civil courts. There's so many different judges that are involved in the process. So depending on who you are and where your agency operates, odds are you're going to be able to find a federally appointed judge at some point that might have a little bit of a political leaning or a bias, or a lot of one if you're really just hoping to just kind of slide something by. I think it's a stat that, like, back during the FISA applications, it was like 99 or 98% of all FISA applications for warrants were pretty much approved without much scrutiny or second thought. And it's stuff like that that really is the miscarriage of justice, which is, and it shows the shift in political philosophy when it comes to these federal agencies and how they interact with the court system, which is that they're there to do their job, but they also have really lost sight of the fact that doing their job is inherently an inconvenience to the American citizen, which is that you exist to police the Americans, but the Americans also have a right to be free from your scrutiny unless you have a very, very good cause. So when you really shift that balance, it leans away from freedom and it leans towards government action and government power that is constantly and ever growing. So I think this is kind of a problem of the modern age, and we might start to see a bit shift back because, Jay, you said my favorite words, which was Chevron deference, baby, and it is dead. Long live Chevron deference. Live in that dirt, baby.
You
now,
know,
the legislators have to make good laws, and the agencies can no longer just interpret it however the hell they want. Because
that's the thing.
I want to reiterate this. Sorry. I want to reiterate for people. Chevron is important because up until this point, whatever the federal agency's interpretation was, that was it. There was no challenging it. You could challenge how they applied that interpretation, but you could not challenge the interpretation itself. So the agency had the final word and you couldn't fight it. And now that is completely gone. Now you can argue over those things, and you can also look at your legislators and be like, you need to write better laws because these suck.
Yeah, that's the most important thing about Chevron deference that I think people need to realize is it puts the onus of responsibility back onto our lawmakers, right? That's the most important part of overturning the Chevron deference, because now you don't give these three-letter entities carte blanche to make the laws. They're not responsible for doing those things, right? That's why we have that's why we have Congress, for God's sakes. Okay?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like there was a few people that I was having this conversation with, and they were like, yeah, I think the reason why the Chevron thing was a big deal anyway, and why a lot of people in Congress were supposed to it, is because they just didn't want to do their damn jobs. And I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense in a very perverse way, because like, why do your job when you can just give it to when you can just offload that work to somebody else and give them the rubber stamp of approval?
Yeah, my read on that political incentive right there is that if you delegate the authority and the action to the agencies who are unelected people, you can always blame them for whatever they come up with, which means that you never have to go on the record and vote for it and plant your feet in the sand anywhere. You have the ability to say like, oh, I didn't support that. That wasn't me. That was someone else doing it. But this, again, goes back to the idea of if you want to be able to see what your legislators are doing, you got to have that clear record. Yeah. And what Chevron does is it pushes more in that direction. I'm not going to say it solves all the issues, because Lord knows it does not. But at the same time, it's shifting back to the idea where the legislators theoretically can be held more accountable because they're going to have to vote on the record on very specific issues.
Yeah. I love what happened with the Chevron deference thing, bro. Like once we really got into the weeds there, and I understood the implications of what our lawmakers would have to do because it was overturned, I was like, good. Like with great power comes responsibility, and like they deferred that responsibility for a very long time.
True. By the way, for the folks at home, if you enjoyed Christian Hines on the book club, his team over at the Nick Freitas YouTube channel, they did an absolute phenomenal podcast breaking down the Chevron deference case, and I think it came out last week or 2 weeks ago. If you're interested in the Chevron deference stuff, that is the best explanation I've seen yet. So go check them out.
Excellent. Yeah, big shout out to those guys. Big shout out to oh, excuse me, all the guests that have come on the DGen Roundtable show. On the subject of the DGen Roundtable show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, we have reached our 2-hour mark. So I'm going to do a quick little read through of the articles that we didn't get to cover today. And for the folks at home, I have
So
another little
much,
call to action.
so much this week.
Another little call to action. If you guys have any particular articles that you would like us to cover, make sure to post them up in the Telegram, which you can get to by scanning that QR code down below, or by going to t.me/DRT join now, which I am about to drop in the chat. Copy link, and bam, there it is. So again, that's https://t.me/DRT join now. That is the link that you can click to join our DGen Roundtable Telegram chat. Again, some of the articles that we did not go over, but as some good information just from like a read the headlines point of view. Fire Dancer incoming. Jump Crypto offers a $1 million bug bounty on Solana. So that's pretty cool. Solana's offering
that's
for
a Solana validator. For those of you, it's a validator client for Solana, which they're hoping that that's going to solve the outage issue. So once that goes live, bullish for Solana. So I wanted to bring it up because some of us we have Solana. So I know it. Not everybody's a fan, but
another thing that's happening is that Sandbox is building Attack on Titan land. So Jay, you had mentioned earlier in the green room that Attack on Titan is one of the best selling animes over in Japan. So with Sandbox building on that, they're basically bringing in some Attack on Titan stuff. So that's got some potential big money moves too. Next up, the Senate also approves blockchain technology for national defense. This one looks like it's a little bit more in the weeds. So,
that one's pretty dense.
Pretty dense. And then
Maybe
finally,
week,
what's that?
Well, I was just thinking, maybe, if it's really dense and it's really important, I'd say maybe we just cover it next week.
Perhaps
I had the opposite opinion. This one is very vague legislation that was passed. They don't explicitly call out exactly what they're trying to use blockchain for, but they're just like, yes, the DoD will be using a blockchain. It's like, cool. Why?
Yep.
A lot of speculation in there.
I bet it's a private blockchain.
The final thing that we've got. Yeah, so what's the fucking point of the private? Anyways, the final thing that we got is that Coinbase is going to release an app that will track multiple wallets. So essentially, Coinbase is coming out with a portfolio manager, not necessarily manager, but portfolio viewer.
Bro, Coinbase is doing a lot of things.
Yeah,
that is a fucking psyop. All right, the quality of life improvement is real. Right. But if you connect all of your on-chain wallets to that app, you've just given them all of your information. Congratulations. You played yourself. All right. That is a psyop. The QOL
a word for this. That's the honeypot.
Yeah. Bro, I was dying. I'm like, yo, these guys they're just like, they're so obvious about their moves. It's like.
I think it'll help bring money into the space.
Because crypto people are that way. We are very, very suspicious about things.
You're absolutely right, Jay. It is a psyop, and you know what else it is? It's a tool to help fools that don't know what they're doing. So just like, we know that this Wild West is ending. Like, it is inevitable. They're going to know all your stuff. They're going to figure all this stuff out. Like, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to keep private. So like, for the folks that are joining the cryptocurrency sphere just now, if you want to learn better ways to self-custody your wallets and track your other stuff, make sure you join our DRT Telegram. As I had said below, the link for that is posted up in the current chat, and Zenith is pointing right down there at the QR code, which you can scan to get on into our Telegram. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, it's time to end our show. What I want you guys to do as my fantastic panel members is go ahead and let the folks know at home where they can find you and what have you got going on in the near future. Before we do that, it's time for one final round of You Already Know It chat motherfucking shout out. So, Mrs. Producer, if you would be so kind. I didn't even check the private chat to see if you're ready to roll here. So, first up, we've got Ivan Ramirez saying 82 million Ladybugs dev is a female. She played Division 1 basketball and she likes DRT a lot because of the show and the low market cap. So it's a compliment to you guys, even though the coin is for fun. You never know. So for those of you who have not heard of 82 million Ladybugs, that's one of the coins that's paired with DRT, which is
shout out to the ballers.
Yep, shout out to the ballers out there. So I will say that it was the first I ever heard of it was when I took a look at the thingamajigger and I was like, oh, what the hell is this? So there's lots of coins that are paired up with DRT. So if you guys are having fun and learning about DRT, then check out the check out that stuffs and things there. All right, next up we've got Fast Abdul saying that Will has his tinfoil hat on again. You're absolutely right, good sir. I thought that it was a bit interesting that the government was fighting against people who were creating alternatives to dollar bills, y'all. And I don't know if they ever put something up against USDC or DAI or anything else like that, but I think that it was the DAI guy who got chopped up in a briefcase and set free, or maybe he drowned or something over on Puerto Rico or whatever. But
That
like
was him.
Make your doubt.
people
Yeah.
people who compete against the dollar, they generally don't tend to fare well. So I don't know, maybe someone can come up with a stable coin that like pairs against like gravel or something. Anyways,
You can come up with a stable coin that won't get them killed.
yeah, that's the big trick. You win the journalism
The
Pulitzer
CIA
Prize.
Journalism Award, yeah.
Yes, yep, that's the one. All right, next up we got
DAI, but whatever.
oh man, our final shout out is to Mr. Chicago Bruce saying, haha, it is not cool. I'm not sure what he was referring to, but whatever it is, fuck that shit. I agree. It sounds
I think it was
very...
the wallet aggregator.
Oh, okay. The wallet aggregator. I think it's good for onboarding and for teaching idiots how to do things, and it's not cool for security, but it is cool for helping idiots learn how to use things and creating one more little step in the thingamajigger. So the end all be all point is it's a tool. You can misuse it and you can use it correctly depending on what your goals are. If you're concerned with privacy, probably not the best thing for you. If you're not concerned with privacy, fucking have at it. And but like there's a lot of the things in cryptocurrency, once you start walking down those paths, then it's like you can't walk back because it's all on the blocks, it's all on the chain, and it's like you got to start fresh. And that's why it's nice to have things like Tornado Wallet or Tornado Cash or Zero Knowledge, Zero Expectation, ZKZX on Pulse Chain or things of that nature. So, anyways, shout out to the folks at home, Mr. Zenith. Where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future, my friend?
Folks, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ZenithDI or in the Telegram. I'm sure Jay and I will be wrapping up our saga talking about whether or not this was a 54-day cycle, a 65-day cycle, a new cycle, or a failed cycle. So we'll be covering all those things in the Telegram. Check us out over there. We had a big list of guests and guest appearances this week, which means that this week on Wednesday, we're going to be doing a Whiskey Wednesday. So if you want to come on, hang out, chat with us, hang out, ask questions, that's the place to do it. We'll be putting the StreamYard link in the Telegram chat and also on YouTube when we go live, so be on the lookout for that. Other than that, I did book club last week, which means it is Will's turn for book club this week. I'm sure he will announce the book or tell you what it is already. Then other than that, yeah, we pushed back the Q3 thesis once again because we had a ton of news, and even after we made that decision, we had even more and more important news come out. So yeah, that is what we got going on. Next Sunday, we're going to be talking about everything you can expect for Q3. I'm actually not too sad that we're doing it next week because I'm very happy with the amount of data that we have on the Bitcoin market right now. I think it is going to allow us to have a better picture and better projection of where we think the market's going to be going over the next 3 months. So that is what I got going on. Jay, take it away, brother.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the whole 64-day cycle or 54-day cycle. The thing is, like, if Bitcoin takes 65,000, that would invalidate the corrective structure that I'm playing with right now. But if it goes to 65,000, it basically takes the theoretical cycle high, the 7-day cycle high. So it's like kind of a moot point. But if you guys want to get any of the TA, look, there's so much news on a weekly basis that on our Sunday streams, like, we don't get to go over TA at some points. If you miss the TA, I did 2 emergency streams last week, or like, I guess, well, yeah, last week, right? And that's where I give all of the alpha in terms of the TA. So if you would like to get the information, there's a QR code right below it, like right below me. Scan that QR code, join the Telegram. That's where we give all the alpha throughout the week. That's where a lot of the intelligent conversations occur, that you can interact with us on a daily basis. So like the damn video for one, all right? Comment, subscribe, jump into Telegram, okay? As always, we know that time is your most valuable asset, so we do appreciate that you guys spend that here every Sunday with us, and on Wednesday and on Friday, and whenever we are on stream. Thank you so much for doing that. You can find me on X at _P90Hex, on Instagram at agent_J Schroth. Until next time, Nate.
Yeah, well, you can find me in the Telegram as well. There's a lot of people who are just kind of wondering what's next. That's why, we rely on the TA to be able to kind of try and best guesstimate the future, right? But then there's also a lot of other things that, when it comes to, like, say, portfolio allocations and all that, get into the Telegram. You can get a hold of us in there, and we are able to help you out. It is free for now, but that is not going to be the case very soon. And so, I don't want to cause any FOMO, but you better get in now. So, yes, go ahead, scan that QR code. We're all good here. I will be on Whiskey Wednesday, and we are going to have a fun and great time over there. That is community day for you guys to pop in, hang out with us, have a good time. So overall, good times are coming. And Will, take us out.
Alrighty, for the folks at home who have never seen or heard from me before, you guys can find all of my socials over at will.pls.fyi. That is my decentralized version of Linktree. Hidden inside of there, you can find my actual Linktree, which will take you to a whole lot of the other things that I've done on the internet, whether it's writing some silly books, or whether it's creating the Rule Zero archive, or joining the DRT Roundtable podcast, or the podcast that I do with my brother. There's a lot of shit that you can find over there. As far as all the other socials go, feel free to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. But the best place to find me is on Telegram in the DRT chats. Just tag me if you got anything that you want to say. Like Agent Jay said, we are super duper glad, and we want to thank you guys for spending your time with us, because we know that time is your most valuable asset. Mrs. Produce. Oh, shit. Just kidding. Before I close out, the book for next week's book club is going to be The Ideal Team Player by... Oh, shit. I can't remember his name. But The Ideal Team Player is going to be the book that we're covering on next Friday. So you can look forward to that. And other than that, Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger finger ready. And I want to remind all the folks at home to remember to degen responsibly.